music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fray. Facts and logic with a twist of jest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steampunk Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello, and welcome to the Pun Show. Hope you have good plans for the holiday tomorrow. Happy holidays. I'm saying that to own the MAGA. I don't know why people get upset over happy holidays. It's like such a dumb thing to get upset about. Like, oh, we, or other holidays even existing at the same time as Christmas, as though Christmas itself wasn't a stolen holiday. But anyway, I do think that it's great that people have time to spend with their families and their loved ones, and I don't care if they're doing it with Hanukkah or if they're doing it with Christmas or what's the I'm sorry, my brain's dropping. I want to say starts with a K. But anyway, the one that African Americans celebrate. Just enjoy your family, enjoy your time with the people you love, and stop worrying about if other people are doing it differently. It's so dumb. But anyway, with that, I kind of want to just say yesterday was my best day yet doing my podcast. I hit 43,500 live viewers at some point, with about 500 concurrent, which is like, actually, hey, people are watching, people are listening. And I feel like there's a lot of them that are not who I would have expected to be my audience. And I've had return viewers that are diehard MAGAs, and all right. And some of them are being reasonable and honest people about things, and they're having real conversations with me. And I'm hoping that we can go forward doing that. And hey, Trumpster, you're one of them. Hey, did you hear Georgia admitted they defrauded Trump in the 2020 election? That means, yeah, that didn't happen, Trumpster. That absolutely did not happen. I don't know what you heard, but that did not happen. But you're going to like what I'm about to say, because we get comments like this. This actually, I had something happen yesterday while all that was going on. I had somebody give me, like they can on YouTube, they get these little super stickers, right? Like they're like $2 or whatever. And somebody, bought one of those super stickers, and they said legalize. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Psilocybin, the mushroom thing, and it's like a $2 sticker, and the Georgia did not. Just hear me out, Trumpster. We'll get to you in a second. So it's like the mushroom stuff, right? Like the shrooms. It's like he left a comment legalize shrooms, and he gave me a $2 sticker. And so I got to thinking, um, what about that? So I started looking into, it's not something I had ever thought about before. And so I started looking into it. I even prepared a little dashboard to talk about this, and I'll do that in a little bit. But right now, I just kind of want to throw this out there. If you want me to talk about something, and I mean, when I say talk about it, I don't mean just answer your questions in the chat. I mean, actually go and research it and prepare something on it and then give you honest feedback about what I honestly think. I'm not saying that my opinion is for sale, but I am saying if you want me to really look into something like whether or not the Georgia election was stolen, put your money where your mouth is, and I will put my mouth where your money is. If you want me to research something and look into something, go ahead, and if you're on Twitter, drop some money in my tip jar. If you're on YouTube, buy a super sticker, and I'll basically say a minute of show for a minute of whatever you donated. And that's not to say that I'll still respond to questions on the live show. This is nothing to do with that. This is over and above that. This is actually diving into something and letting you kind of get some real estate in my show, where this portion of the show is dedicated to what you want me to talk about. So if you want me to spend 5 minutes talking about whether or not Georgia admitted that they stole the election, buy a super sticker, Trumpster, and I will do it. I will do honest research. I will show you my links. I'll send you my links for it. I'll send you any visuals or dashboards that I create. I will do honest research for it and give you an honest answer. But I feel like this way, people, like somebody wanted to know why I would vote for Kamala Harris, and somebody else, they wanted to know about this thing with Eric Holder trying to take away guns or something. I can't remember what he was. But sometimes I'm in the middle of a show and somebody wants to like have this whole other conversation. And sometimes it can be a conversation I might agree with. Sometimes it might be a conversation I don't agree with. But not every conversation is worth having. And I'm willing to have them. But you also have to, respect my agency as a human being and as having freedom to operate on my own show. So if you want me to talk about something that, I will talk about, and I'll give you an example of something else right here, where it's like an honest answer to an honest question that I got. Somebody, yesterday I challenged everybody, give me one thing that Trump has done that is actually good for most Americans. And so somebody answered that question in good faith. And so I'm going to go through what they said, and I'm going to break down what the reality is even more. But I'm addressing the question itself in good faith. And I think that they answered my question in good faith. I think we need more good faith conversations. I think that's what's wrong with the country a lot these days. Everything is polarized because everything is presented polarized. We talk past each other because we don't even try to talk to each other. So I'm going to give honest reflection after honest research on an honest question. Trumpster, we have not had the biggest decrease in inflation in history. Our taxes are not lower. Our GDP is not really 4.3%. And being for America is subjective. So, all right. So let's talk about the tax thing. Somebody brought up the tax thing in a comment on one of the shorts that I left. So I'm going to, this is first the actual impact of the taxes. All right. the if you just look at the taxes, the federal income tax cuts, everybody did save money. If that's all you're looking at. And if you look at it as a percentage, then like the bottom quintile saved 0.8% of their income, but the it's blocked by the thingy. I think it's about 2.5%. It's blocked by my logo, sorry. It's about 2.5% that the top 20th percentile saved. And if you look at it by dollars amount, the bottom 20% saved about $150 a year, and the top 20% saved about $12,540 per year. So you're like, see, that's good. Everybody made money. Well, but it's not that simple. And it's only if you look at it through that very biased lens that it is that simple. Because the One Beautiful Bill Act did not just give tax cuts, it also cut benefits. So when you factor in the cuts that go along with it, the while the bottom 20% gained $150 in tax benefits in tax relief, the tax benefits that they got were much larger in impact. So they lost over $1,000 per household. And the top 20% also lost a little bit in benefits. But when you look at the percentage difference, the bottom 60% of households all actually had a net negative effect from the bill, and the top 2 percentiles had a positive impact with only 0.3% in that 60%, 60 to 80% range. So that was almost negligible. Most American families lost more than they got out of the bill. And that's not counting the ACA, which is going to make this even worse. That's not counting the premium supplements. So if you want to see what that looks like in a table, bottom 20%. And then we haven't talked about tariffs yet. When you factor in tariffs, it's even worse. Because tariffs are a tax, and tariffs are a regressive tax. And no, they don't bring money from other countries. They just bring money in from consumers. And the bottom, when you factor in the tariffs, the tariffs plus the spending cuts cost the average American, in the bottom percent, 3.8% of their income. And when you factor everything together, it's 5.2%. The tariffs plus the spending cuts is 3.8%. Then when you add in the tariffs, it's 5.2%. And then when you look at it here and here, and again, you're talking about, once you factor in the tariffs, the bottom 3 percentiles all lose a significant chunk of their income. And 1% of your income, if you're making $20,000 a year, matters more to you on a personal level than 1% of your income if you're making $1 million a year. That 1% doesn't matter much to a millionaire. I mean, it's more money. It's more money than 5 people that make $20,000. But they're not making lifestyle choice changes based on losing $100,000. They're still driving the same car, living in the same house, buying the same clothes, going on the same vacation. Elon Musk does not care what his income is. Okay. So that's my honest feedback to that honest question. Oh, and actually, there's one more thing. It also increased the deficit. And when you start looking at the impact of the deficit, then you get a long-term generational damage that because poor families are less able to build wealth, and because these taxes are regressive, and the fact that we're actually going deeper into debt to pay for these tax cuts, then the debt that needs to be repaid is going to be repaid regressively by the lower and middle classes more than the wealthy would be. So we're not just taking money from the poor people to give tax cuts to the rich people. We're taking money from poor people from the next generation to pay for tax cuts for the wealthy right now. So is that good for America? If you want to say it is, that's entirely up to you. But I personally don't think that taxing the next generation into oblivion to pay for tax cuts for the wealthy right now, I don't think that's good for America. But that's why we have elections. That's why we have conversations. Okay, so now let's go through some of these questions real quick, and then I want to go into the whole mushroom things. Hey, you old man. I don't know what old is. I'm 58. Well, had the biggest decrease. Okay, I think I already talked about that. The good thing that Trump did was become president, so we wouldn't be stuck with Kamala and Tampon Tim. Tim Waltz wanted to put tampons in the male bathrooms. Tim Waltz actually didn't want to put tampons in male bathrooms. There was a law that was passed that said that tampons had to be available for all menstruating students in Minnesota. Which, by the way, I lived in Minnesota, and I went to high school and played basketball for high school in Grand Forks, North Dakota. But I actually went to school in East Grand Forks, which was in Minnesota. So like if you've ever seen the movie Fargo or the TV show Fargo, I went and I actually played basketball games in a lot of those places where they're at. So it's kind of very nostalgic for me to watch that. But a lot of these schools are really small schools, and they don't have like a male and a female locker room. When you go to that school, like if you're the men's team and you're the visiting team, then you use the women's locker room as the visiting team. And if you're the women's team, you use the male locker room as the visiting team. So they put tampon machines in men's locker rooms so that women on visiting basketball teams and whatnot could have access to tampons, because there was a state law that said menstruating students needed to have tampons. So basically, you're shaming women for having their periods. Okay, libtards and fake new. I don't know what a new is. Is that supposed to be news? Merry Christmas, you dirty commie, and happy holidays, you filthy fetish. Merry. Well, at least, yeah. Oh, good job. You caught your topo. Hey there, comrade. I can't stay, but I hope the stream goes great. I appreciate you standing for all human rights. Thank you, Mr. Epsteinia W. If the haters ever say no one likes you, never forget I'm a fan. Aw, shucks. No, not what's happening. I don't know what's not happening. Yes, Trump won. Get over it. I never said Trump. Trump won in 2024. Joe Biden won in 2020. The ones who can't get over it are people like Trumpster up there that still thinks that Trump won Georgia. You look 70. Thank you. Yes, G did. No wonder. Shout out. I'm going to start just reading typos the way they're written. Shout out to my boy Ice Wallow W. Come thumbs up. I don't know. Equity and equality are equity and equality and antithetical to each other. Okay, that's not a actual grammatical sentence, but equity and equality are not antithetical to each other. Equity and equality are two different concepts that are related but not mutually exclusive, and they aren't all either the same thing either. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about this mushroom thing, which is this is what I'd like to do more of. So if you have questions, if you want me to talk about equity and equality, go ahead, buy a super sticker. I'll talk about it. And this is somebody I did not, I never talked about this, but this guy, or girl, I don't know when she was, um, bought a super sticker and said, legalize, I would ask, how do you pronounce it? But how are you going to tell me? Psilocybin? Is that how you say it? Shrooms? I think it's pronounced shrooms. So I just did some research on legalizing shrooms. It's something I had heard about, but had never really thought about or researched. And it's interesting. It's actually interesting. This is actually one of those things where I feel like there's conservatives and there's MAGAs and there's America First now, which apparently they're different things. And there's libertarians. And there's Democrats and there's leftists and there's liberals. And I don't know what everything is, but I think that there are people in each of these camps that, for instance, like with legalization of marijuana, there is a crossover of people that are like, yeah, we need to have that. And this seems like it could be similar. There are some legitimate concerns, but some of those legitimate concerns have been legitimately addressed in certain states. And there are also legitimate reasons to do it. So I'm going to go through this and discuss it. Oh, okay. Actually, I did want to talk about this. So I'm going to talk about this real quick before I go into the shrooms thing, because this is okay. What do I think of the Epstein's files, specifically the ones like the letter between Epstein and Nasser? Do you think it's real or fake? I don't know. Okay, I have no reason to believe it's fake. I believe that it was probably actually written by Epstein to Nasser, and he was clearly obsessed with Trump, just based on how much he talked about Trump. Whether that means Trump did anything or not is a whole other ballgame. I think that what he said is really interesting. This is for those who don't know. He said something about that he wrote a letter or a postcard. Is it a letter or a postcard to Larry Nasser? The guy that sexually molested all the gymnasts, like 3 days before he committed suicide. And he by the way, one of my favorite all-time tweets was, if you think you're surprised by Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, imagine how he felt. But he wrote this letter to Larry Nasser, and he said, that President Trump shares our love for young nubile girls. And even like apparently there's like a very specific age range that's related to the word nubile, which is not something that most people would know, but somebody that traffics them would know. And somebody like Larry Nasser would know. So anyway, I think he really wrote that letter. To answer your question, I think he really wrote that letter. Whether or not that letter means anything is a whole other ballgame. Like, he could have done that just because he was pissed that he was in prison and Trump wasn't bailing him out. And what better, like this was at the same time Larry Nassar was, I think, he was either getting prosecuted or it was like right about the time when, I'm just going off of memory here, but it seems like that was the time frame when those victims were testifying. And it was actually quite stirring, their testimonies. So I don't know that it means anything. I wouldn't send anybody to jail over that, but it is quite an interesting letter. I don't think weed should be legal unless you grow your own. So this isn't, because I think you're more on the conservative side than I am. But so this is what I mean. I think there's a talking point, right? Or not a talking point. There's a discussion to be had between completely illegal and legal on weed. And I feel like we could get to that same discussion. At what point, it's not like whether or not it should be legal, but whether it should be legal and how regulated should it be? Should it be really, like with the weed, should it be regulated to the point you can grow your own and enjoy your own, but you can't sell it or distribute it? By what means do you suggest achieving societal equity without infringing upon true equality of individuals? Hey, I'll answer that question. Give me $2. No, that's I don't think anybody is trying to achieve societal equity. I think that's what you're talking about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And equity in that context is not the way that people on the anti-DEI, the people on the anti-DEI spectrum don't understand what equity is. It's not saying we need to get to where everything is perfectly proportional. The whole idea of equity has nothing to do with hiring, in fact, at all. It has to do with if you have two different people that were hired and they went to the same school and they had the same GPA, do they then get the same opportunities for promotion? Or do you say, oh, I've got this class and you send certain people to go and they go to this class and then they become, they move up the ladder, but in part because they're pre-selected for promotion before they're promoted. And so they're given opportunities, and it's not about legalizing that. It's more about being aware of that. It's more about the company looking and saying, are we giving everybody, and not by race or something, are we giving everybody the equal chance to move up in the company? Or do we have an unconscious bias where some people are being filtered out because of things like race or gender or veteran status or not having a veteran status? Are there other unconscious filters that are being applied? And the way we look and review that is by looking at what is actually happening. So when you look at something like 95% of the pilots in America were white males, there's something off. And so it's not about fewer white males getting jobs. It's about reaching out to more women and reaching out to more people that aren't white. And that also happens to be solving the pilot shortage. Libertarians such as myself have some liberal and some conservative ideas. And I think that's what we need to get at, Skippy, is more real conversations where people are having ideas about their views beyond the letter that's behind their name. I'm pro-Reed, but also pro-gun. And I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro-gun in the sense that I think as long as you are a law-abiding citizen, you should be able to own a gun. But I think if you own a gun, you should be responsible for your gun. Like, I don't understand. Like, I just honestly believe responsible gun owners should be responsible for the guns they own. I don't think that should be controversial. If it lets people do more stuff right now, I'm for it. Okay, hang on. Let me just clean up something here. All right. Liberals generally want people to do less. I don't think liberals actually generally want people to do less. I don't know where some of this stuff comes from. And this is why we need more conversation, Skippy, so that you can like discuss things with liberals and learn what liberals actually think. I think we have a lot of this. I've talked to liberals who have opinions about MAGA farmers that are inaccurate. I think MAGA farmers have viewpoints of, black people in Chicago that are inaccurate. And what I have found throughout my life, I'm 58 years old. In my life, I have been to 36 different countries. I've lived in 5. I've lived on 4 continents. I've been to 46 states. I've talked to all kinds of people from all walks of life. And I will just say that I have found that across the board, there's not like a generic good person or a generic bad person. There are people that are liberals who are good, and there are people who are liberals who are bad, and there are people who are conservatives who are good, and there are people who are conservatives who are bad. And it's not just what we think or what we say that makes us good or do. It's what we do that makes us good or bad. It's our actions that speak for who we are and what we are. And one way that we can act in a way that shows that we are a broader person is to actually have real, honest conversations with other people that we disagree with. So, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. He's got the Christ in there. What is a nubile? What's I think it's Nubile, and it's like somebody between 10 and 13 or something. I read it in a post or something. I'm not aware of what these distinctions are, but apparently there's like different grades of pedophilia, and if the pedophilias have them all worked out. So like, like Matt Gaetz is like a I don't know what they call them, but like the kind that are post adolescent, but they're they've got boobs and they menstruate, but they're not legal yet. If it bleeds, it breeds, as far as Matt Gaetz is concerned. But then there's the kind that haven't hit puberty yet, or they're just starting to get their little boobs or whatever, and those are the ones that Epstein was talking about. If tobacco isn't legal, weed shouldn't be. If it's all natural, same with shrooms. Tobacco is legal, isn't legal. Weed shouldn't be. I agree. I think that there's like some differences. Like cocaine comes from a plant too. Cocaine is natural. So I don't know that just being natural means it should be legal. But we'll get to the shrooms in a bit. I think that it looks like there are legitimate, very good medicinal reasons for shrooms, including like fighting depression, PTSD, things like that. Rega, New York, the Nasser Epstein files. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention about the Epstein files is even if you're a MAGA, you have to be disappointed in some of the ways they're rolling these things out. Like, did you hear about the PDF thing? Like there's this way you can redact things in PDF where you just black them out on the file. And so it's like visually, if you look at the PDF file, you can't see the name. But if you copy and paste if you copy it, like with a Control-C copy it, and then you paste it into a Word file, it won't paste the redacted part. It'll paste the actual word. And so, TikTok went TikTok, and they did the TikTok thing that they do, and they figured this out, and so they were like finding all these mentions of Trump's name where he had been redacted. And there are all the other names. I don't want to, I didn't want to look into it because I don't want to see um, victims' names. I'm just hoping victims' names aren't being unearthed by this. But this is just incompetence, because apparently this has happened before, not to the DOJ, but to other people. This is a known hack, which is probably how TikTok was able to figure it out so fast. So anyway, just the whole way that they're, now today they found, they just found them. They just found them magically, as if by, who knew these million files were just sitting around the office. So they accidentally found a million more files, and now they need to go through those and, redact them. Anyway, it's just such a, I'm not talking about ideology here. I'm talking about competence. Just straightforward competence. I wouldn't even mind the Trump administration nearly as much as if they could at least do things right. Like even like with Nazi Germany, the people would say at least the trains are running on time. The Trump administration is like Nazi Germany, except the trains are always late. Okay, I think weed should be legal, but like growing your own, fine. Can't sell or distribute. If you sell or distribute it, government should require license and legitimate business. So like in California, I think that's kind of what they do. I think that's most of the places it's regulated. And I think it's time to just decriminalize pot at all. I don't understand why. It's obviously not something people are ODing on, and you've got, you still got, what was that movie they made that made it sound like it was in the 50s, the scary weed movie. I can't remember what it was. Just scrolling by and heard advocating for DEI. DEI is racist, and if you believe it, you're a moron. Bye now. Okay, thank you for participating. Like how beer is. Yes. I think that racism and bigotry is still a problem because some people don't want to stop talking about it and try to inject it into every situation. I just point out that the people that are bringing it up here are the people who disagree with DEI. And I think, I always say if you don't see race, how can you see racism? Like, there's a difference between injecting race as a problem and identifying race as a problem. And we need to be able to delineate between those two things. So like right now with the Trump administration, you've got, for instance, taking Black history out of schools. It's not, and it's like only white history counts now. And then somehow you're racist if you point out that white people did bad things. Like everything should, like there should be an honest discussion about race. And I think having an honest discussion about race has to include race as the topic. Just pretending it away doesn't help anybody either. But on the same hand, by the same hand, like I used to, I managed a store in Mall of America back in like in 93, 94, something like that. It was JW. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It was mostly like an urban clothing store for discount clothes. And it was kind of like, at least half my clients were, or half my customers were Black. And so one day a guy came in and I don't know if you've ever lived in Minnesota or there, Bloomingdale's is like the big retail store there. And it was kind of a big controversy because there was no Bloomingdale's in Mall of America. And Bloomingdale's is like the adult version of Target. It's owned by the same company. And so anyway, this guy comes in and he one of the ways that when people were shoplifting is they take a big shopping bag and they put it under a clothing rack and then they drop clothes into um they just drop clothes into their bag and then they pick up the bag and they'd walk away and then like you wouldn't be able to see it. So I see him, he walks in with this Dayton's bag, which I know right away he's not a real customer because he's carrying the Dayton's bag and there's no Dayton's in Mall of America. And so I watch him and he starts dropping some clothes. And so I point at the bag and I tell him, hey, bud, you planning on paying for those? And so he looks around and like half the people in there are black. And he's like, what, why are you bothering me? It's because I'm black, isn't it? And I was like, no, it's because there's no Dayton's in Mall of America. And then all the customers who actually knew me, they all just started laughing at him. So he tried, like there is a playing the race card type of thing that sometimes people do to try to play on, white people being afraid of being called a racist. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm saying that does not happen proportionally to actual racism happening. The actual racism does happen. And we can't know when it's happening and whether it's happening without looking at race. There's no race blind way to evaluate racism. If you try to evaluate racism by being race blind, then you will only perpetuate racism. I don't know if any of what I'm saying is making sense to you, but I think we need to find out how to have the real discussion instead of just saying that it's either you're racist if you acknowledge it or you're racist if you're not. 95% of rappers are black men. Okay. If you specifically do not reach out to somebody who is white, is that against the law? It's not about reaching out to somebody who isn't white. Who is white. If you specifically, nobody's not reaching out to white people. It's so like here's the thing, like with the whole pilot thing. This is the Charlie Kirk pilot thing. And my brother-in-law is a pilot, and I've talked to him about this and he confirms it's true. There is actually a shortage of pilots. And more importantly, there's actually a shortage of captains. And you need to fly a certain number of miles before you can become a pilot. And then you need to fly a certain number of miles before you can become a passenger airline pilot. And then you have to fly a certain number of miles as a passenger airline pilot before you get to be a captain. My brother-in-law is a captain now. He's been doing this for about 20 years. And so, you go to your pilot school, and then after pilot school, you go to your, you fly cargo planes to get some miles racked up, and then you start, you get an airline pilot, and then you start with like the little airplanes, and then you move on to the bigger airplanes, and then you become a captain. And it's like a real career where you have to go up by steps, and each step you have to like pass certain tests, and they're not easy. You have to study for them. You have to meet certain standards, both physical and mental. And, you have to have a certain amount of knowledge. And these tests don't care what color you are. There's no such thing as lowering standards. But what happened is for years, most of our pilots were just coming out of the military. And because A, we didn't let women fly in the military for decades. And B, there was an inherent bias in the military towards white men. 95% of commercial airline pilots were white men. Then we started running out. It's like people started aging out, and the airline industry started to grow. There were more planes and fewer pilots. So now this kind of military pipeline abruptly started to peter out. So then what they did is they started looking into Let's go start recruiting. Okay. And then that's when they said, where can we go where we're not already recruiting? And they said, HBCUs. You've got college grads there that are completely qualified to enter pilot school. Let's go seek some of them out. And so then they started recruiting from HBCUs. And so that's why there started to become more black pilots. It's not white pilots stopped getting jobs because they were still getting jobs. There was a pilot shortage. It's not more black pilots does not mean fewer white pilots, and more black pilots doesn't mean less qualified pilots. That is all actually racist innuendo thrown in by people that are all against DEI. The diversity in DEI is just about diversity in hiring. It has nothing to do with racial quotas. It's, are you recruiting black people and white people and Asian people? Are you recruiting everybody? Are you giving everybody a chance? It's not about making the pool smaller, like the whole, big fish in a little pond. It's just making the pond bigger and getting more fish. Everybody that's eligible for a pilot's license that's white is still eligible. Everybody that's could have been a white pilot can still be a white pilot. It's just now there are also other people that can be pilots. Do I think that somebody who is a law abiding should be able to own an assault weapon? I think that whether somebody should, I think that assault weapons is a complicated and nuanced topic. And I think that the gun industry itself is malleable in determining what is an assault weapon. Like they used to call them assault weapons until you started seeing assault weapons bans, and then they'd be like, "Oh, why are you calling them assault weapons?" But they used to like literally advertise and market them as assault weapons, and now they're like, "No, they're not assault weapons." And when they had the assault weapons ban under Clinton, then they just slightly changed the features so that they were still basically the same gun. The number of assault weapons that were sold during the assault weapon ban actually went up slightly. I don't know if I don't think that defining what kind of gun people can own really makes much difference. I think maybe there should be limitations on what kind of magazine size you can get just because of mass shootings, but I don't think most of the people that are murdered in mass shootings. I think the larger concern is that about 93% of guns that are purchased are not purchased, or 93% of the guns that are used in crimes, I should say, are not purchased with the background check. And so some states have universal background checks laws, some states don't. It's easy to circumvent them where they are. There's no criminal penalty for selling a gun to somebody that doesn't have that can't clear a background check in I think it's 27 states or 37 states. It's not even illegal. It's illegal for the other person to buy one, but it's not legal for you to sell one. So I think what we need is a shift in who sells guns, period. Like that to me is that's what we need to focus on, is make the laws tighter on selling those guns, because 98% of guns that are used in crimes were initially purchased legally, but somewhere down the line they got sold to somebody, sold a gun to somebody that wasn't able to buy it. And I think it's because right now the onus is on the person that buys it. The person that buys it illegally is a known criminal, and we're putting the onus of following the law on them. There's no teeth in these laws. There's only a few hundred people in prison anywhere in the country for even like straw sales. And I think it's fewer than 500. The federal government only prosecuted 125 last year. Only about 3 to 4% of those people were convicted. Most of the people that were convicted got got or most of the people that are convicted just get either reduced sentences for pleas or they don't do any real time. There was a guy that sold 45 guns to a known gang in Chicago, and he sold 40 guns to a known gang in Chicago. He got 45 days in jail. So we need more teeth in the laws. We need to make people that sell guns to criminals responsible for selling those guns, and we need to make it so that they have a way. I think that responsible gun owners mostly are responsible, and so I think if we make it so that they can be responsible to make sure that they're not selling it to a criminal, most of them, by the fact that they are responsible gun owners, won't sell them if they know that it's not an approved person. So let's make our laws so that they can know whether or not they're selling it to somebody legal. Weed makes kids dumber. Adults too, probably, but that's a choice as an adult. Okay. What is your opinion on red flag laws? It depends. I think for the most, I think red flag laws save lives. And that's actually, I don't think they save lives. It's a proven fact they save lives. I think that there needs to be a warrant. I think that there's some kind of, which is maybe something I need to look into and talk about on the show. But I think that there is this false narrative that you can just go and file a restraining order on somebody and their guns get taken away. But I'm pretty sure there in like most of these cases with red flag laws, there actually has to be a hearing and a judge has to actually sign a warrant. They don't. It's called dope. Think that if they're going to have red flag laws, they need to be written in a way that respect due process of law. Right, I agree. We need to have and that's why I say a judicial warrant. Of course, you typed this before I gave my answer. Alcohol does make people dumber. My mom died in a house fire because she was too drunk to know that the house was on fire. You should look up a guy named Wings of Redemption. He is a pedophile. I don't know who that is. My family church belongs to an organization to stop trafficking. Good. I'm a supporter of ice cream. I think that they're purposely messing up the redactions so that the victims' names get leaked and they're ordered to stop. That's not a bad theory. Like kind of competence through incompetence. And this is again like, where one of the things that's making me sad about the whole thing is the whole Epstein thing. It should not be about politics. It should be about the victims. There were over 1,000 girls who were raped, and only one person has gone to prison for it, and she is now playing with puppies sponsored by the government. What is Black history, though? Black history is American history, isn't it? Yes. And so it should be included in American history. It is an aspect of it. It is a part of American history. Slavery is a part of American history. The Tulsa Massacre is part of American history. If you take those parts of history out of it, are you still teaching American history? I think the incompetency was on purpose for the Epstein release. I don't believe all members of the FBI was on board with the violation. No, and I think that this is true. And I actually have family that's in the FBI, and even I have one family member that, I don't know if you remember this, a few years ago, the 2 FBI agents that were murdered in Miami. He was out of the Miami office, and those were 2 close friends of his. So I think when you talk about the FBI, you have to remember these are people who, whatever their ideology is, mostly I will say FBI tends to be Republican. I think the idea that the FBI would be in the bag for Biden is not a thing that anybody in the FBI would agree with. They would I I know that my FBI family are actually Trump supporters and laugh at the idea that the MAGA would be, or that the FBI would be trying to overthrow the election for whatever weird reason. But this goes back to, let's look at people as people and individuals and stop trying to lump everybody by their ideology. What you're saying basically is we need to give everybody a chance, not necessarily we need to stop hiring white men. Yes, exactly what I'm saying. And we have had such a history of just reaching out to white men that when you start reaching out to black men, that it looks like you're not reaching out to white men. If that is what's happening, then that only proves that we have a history. Question, I don't know the, you gone shot, what you gonna eat? I don't know what Marty means. What for? I'm sorry, Marty. I'm too far behind. I'm like 7 minutes behind, so I don't even know what I was talking about 15 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago. I got some applause for something. It makes no sense not to have a license and background check to own a gun, period. My whole idea, I've talked about this on the show before, is you clear a background check and you get an ID, and then your ID has a number on it. You want to buy a gun, you go and you just tell somebody your ID, and then they punch it in their phone or they punch it on their computer, whether it's at a home or in a gun store. And then once they punch that in, it's already cleared. Like you've already cleared your background check. And so they punch it in, and 30 seconds later, it comes back, and there's like a picture, and they can look at the person that's buying the gun, And if it's like me, and the guy looks at me, he says, "You don't look like an Asian woman. You look like a white guy. I don't think this is you." Then they know not to sell me that gun. They know that I've got a fake ID. If they look at me and it looks like me, and they say, "Okay, that looks like you," and then there's like two questions, what's your first pet's name and your mom's maiden name, or whatever checks I put up with, or maybe you can have like a 2FA type thing. You choose what your second factor is, like they you know send a signal to your phone, and then you pull out your phone, and like there's just a two-factor authorization to prove that that is your ID. And then once you clear that, then they sell you the gun. And then when they sell you the gun, they just hit enter, and then the ownership of that gun transfers immediately to you. And at that point forward, you're responsible for that gun unless you sell it. And then you do the same process with the new buyer. That way, you can ensure that the only legal gun transactions that ever happen are addressed. Then what you do is that, because I can hear the NRA conspiracy theorist people already, that agency is not a government agency. It's an independent agency with congressional oversight that has, like, you have to have members from both parties on it, kind of like the Fed or something. And the only way any information from that database can be gotten is through a federal warrant or a judicial warrant, and then that state judicial warrant. And you have to just, all you can get is who legally owns this gun. You can't find who owns what guns. You can only find who owns this gun that was used in this crime. So that respects the individual rights, it makes it actually easier for people that want to buy guns to be able to buy them, but it also eliminates 93% of the guns that are being used in crimes. Okay, I don't know why someone would want to sell a gun in a private sale anyway. It seems kind of short-sighted and asinine. Yeah, I mean, but I think I think that it's most of the guns that are sold are like, they're not even secondhand, they're like third hand and fourth hand. And so somewhere down that line, somebody sold, a gun to somebody that was a little less scrupulous, and then that less scrupulous sold it to somebody that was even less scrupulous, and then that person just didn't give a fornication who he was selling it to. What is an assault weapon? Yeah, this is one of the reasons I don't think assault weapons work, because you start getting into defining it, and as soon as you define it, then something works a way around it. The problem was requiring a license to own a gun that is an impediment to a constitutional right. And how does that stop somebody who already does not care about the law? Well, it's not intended to stop anybody who doesn't care about the law. The reason that we have laws is not just so that people don't break them, right? The reason we have laws is so that we have a punitive enforcement if people do break them. So this is what I think is the issue: is we have people who should not have guns getting guns, but having a gun illegally or giving somebody a gun illegally or selling them a gun illegally has no teeth. There's no teeth in laws. There's no punitive impact for that. I would say that, and it's not requiring a license to own a gun. It's requiring a background check to obtain a gun. And I don't think that that's an impediment to a constitutional right. And even according to Heller, it's not. Like, even according to a Supreme Court that is very pro-gun, even they have never said that background check is against the Constitution. I do think that is a very good idea to encourage training if somebody is going to buy a firearm, because that will educate them on the use and laws around them. I thought that police could get a temporary protective order if somebody was a danger of themselves or others. Yeah, but in order to get that protective order, they have to get a judge to sign off on it. And there has to be a reason. Like, this fool you listen never fought in his life. Bye. Thanks for chatting, Marty. You're a wonderful person. Merry Christmas. MLK was a pedophile. What's the point of the app's name files if you can't even freaking show the pictures? Come on, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. It's starting to look like Trump is more involved in this than people realize. I think he's actually I think he's as involved as anybody that's been paying attention knows that Trump was not fighting this hard to not release them if he didn't have a reason to not release them. Hey, you're still here, Trumpster. I thought you left. I don't understand why people are so hooked on the Epstein list. I don't think this is. I don't know why you're talking about libtards here. And I don't think it's about finding something on Trump. I think it's about finding justice for the women that were girls when they were over 1,000 girls were raped. And I think that they deserve justice. I don't think it should be about Trump. I don't think it should be about Clinton. I don't think it should be about politics. I think it should be about justice. Yeah, I mean, like when they did that PDF hack and they found Trump in all of these mentions, like that they're redacting Trump's name is pretty, like that's why they're not obeying the law. They're going through and they're redacting Trump's name. That rumor seems to have been true. Don't make it too complicated because the government will just mess it up. I think that there's a lot of anti-government stuff there where people don't understand the government at all. Like a lot of people that talk crap about the government don't understand the government. Just an old dude talking politics on YouTube. That actually, maybe I should make that my title. That's actually, I was thinking of yesterday. I was talking to my wife, and I was thinking of maybe renaming the show "Middle-Aged Dude Ranting from a Recliner Chair." But same idea. I have an opinion. I have views. I have thoughts. I share them. Fortunately, some people seem to care about them. Other people don't. I'm just doing what I want to do. Bro, there are a lot of fascists around right now, and I'm going to disarm you. Get dragged to the cattle cars. I'm not going to. I don't know what all of that means. Yet you libtards don't care about laws, says the person who voted for a 34-time felon. It's almost like criminals still break them. Yes, like the one you voted for. My first asshole. Well, I don't know. I didn't. I said a background. I said a background license. Yes. Your advocate for handing out driver's licenses. I never. Would you please tell me where I advocated for that? Somebody keeps talking about MLK for some reason. A restraining order is only as useful as those who will abide by it. Yes, but it is that useful, right? And a restraining order and a red flag law are two different things. I don't know if what you're. I'm assuming this is what you're saying, that a restraining order is insufficient because somebody that wants to murder somebody isn't going to go, oh well, there's a restraining order. I can't go within 20 feet of them and then go murder them. Obviously, if somebody's going to murder somebody, they don't care about a restraining order or following the law. So you have to actually physically remove the gun from their presence to make it harder for them to murder somebody, which I agree with. Who here is a fascist? Why is Bill and Hillary refusing to testify? They have been subpoenaed. Why are Bill and Hillary Clinton being subpoenaed? Bill Clinton has said, first of all, I have said this many, many times. Anybody that is shown to have participated in raping children should go to jail. And that includes Bill Clinton. That includes Donald Trump. That includes Mickey Mouse. Like, if you raped little girls and little boys, you should be in jail. That's it. Let's not pretend that this little congressional subpoena by Comer is anything but a partisan hack job. Hillary Clinton's not in the Epstein files. Like, why even subpoena her? What's the point of subpoenaing her? And the only thing about Epstein and Clinton is his trip to Africa. Even the pictures they released of Clinton are in Africa. Clinton said, look, go ahead, release everything in the Epstein files completely unredacted about me. That does not sound like somebody that's worried about, there being something in there about him. The one that's acting concerned is Donald Trump. So why isn't Comer subpoenaing Donald Trump? Democrats want Trump to be guilty. Whether Democrats want Trump to be guilty has no relevance on his guilt. Republicans wanting Clinton to be guilty has no relevance on his guilt. And neither wanting either to be innocent has anything relevance on their guilt. This is, again, to me, it's all about justice. It's about the women and girls who are violated. Is this live about the files? Not sure. It's about the flow of the conversation, and it flowed into the files, and there's other stuff. So Donald Trump is a fascist by almost any metric, and people who follow him are fascists. Based on the philosophies of fascism, which fascism is not like communism in that it's easy to define. In the sense, like communism is like a system that advocates for the ownership and control of the means of production or something. I can't think of the exact, but there's a very specific definition where the government controls the means of production and distribution. That's what it is. That's communism, right? There's not that easy way to define fascism. Fascism is an authoritarian government that has certain elements in common across different fascist platforms. Hitler and Mussolini had their differences. They weren't the same, but they had certain characteristics in that were similar. And the same thing with other fascist governments. Even current Russian government is kind of fascist. It's not as simple as communism to define. But when you start looking at those factors, Donald Trump has an awful lot of them. And I've got a few videos in my library there. If you just go to my channel and search fascism, then you'll see several videos that talk about this. But yes, I agree with you. Donald Trump is very much a fascist. And the MAGA movement, the Make America First movement is fascist. In fact, America First started off as a fascist slogan. How so? Are you? I'm assuming you mean like Trump being a fascist. There's just search fascism on my channel, and there's a bunch of stuff. I can maybe do another show again on that. There's literally part of the Epstein files that proves evidence that Trump actually engaged in the essay. It was found in one of the sections people have decensored. There's one accounting by a chauffeur where allegedly he was talking on the phone to somebody named Jeffrey in 1995, and he was talking about having raped a girl, or a girl being raped, or something like that, and then that Trump raped the girl with Jeffrey Epstein. The girl had gone to the police to report it, and then, died by suicide, blowing her face off with a shotgun later, and it was ruled a suicide, but the cops were like, there's no way it's a suicide. So there's this story by the chauffeur that was phoned into the FBI. He said something else about somebody else that had a wild conspiracy theory involving Hillary Clinton and the Oklahoma City bombing. Although this one he didn't, and claim he was personally a witness to. This was just he had talked about somebody else that had said this. So there's a bit of a difference, but the DOJ is saying that this guy was a conspiracy theorist, which is kind of ironic considering that Donald Trump is a conspiracy theorist. But they dismiss it because they say the chauffeur is a conspiracy theorist because he actually knew a conspiracy theorist. But Donald Trump is kind of a conspiracy theorist. Anyway, I think it'd be, if I were a reporter, I'd go and I'd find out the name of this girl and find out if there's any merit to the story, at least. All Democrats should wear tinfoil hats. So, okay. Exactly, Bob. Wondering what Democrats think that COVID is a hoax, that think you should drink bleach, that think that Fauci is a, for the wild, crazy conspiracy theories that Republicans have been spewing about, like the 2020 election, including on this podcast. And now to talk about, the Democrats should be wearing a tinfoil hat. What fascist acts has Trump done? Okay, how about quoting Hitler? When he talks about, immigration is poisoning the blood of our country, that is an actual thing that Adolf Hitler said. The villainizing immigrants is very much a tactic of fascism. He has been anti-Semitic. He has ran that ad with the Star of David against Hillary Clinton. He talks about George Soros all the time. He talks about globalism and elitism. All of those are anti-Semitic slurs. He's building concentration camps across the country. He's sending people to concentration camps. He is he's using the power of the government to silence the media. He's leveraging corporate mergers to get people in the media he doesn't like fired for criticizing him. and to hire people that are favorable to him. Look at what happened with the CBS story. Look at Stephen Miller. Just look at his face. They're like asking if Donald Trump has done something fascist is ignoring like virtually everything Donald Trump does. He's murdering people on the open seas. His military intervention in Venezuela just a distraction from Epstein or the economic shortfalls. I honestly don't know. I think that sometimes we get into, like what Trump is doing and whether it's a distraction. I think he is just like completely unhinged at this point and trying to find logic in what he does is like trying to find logic in where a pigeon poops. It's just it's the latest red balloon, and he just decided Venezuela, and then he looks and he sees Greenland, and who knows what it'll be tomorrow. He's just wandering around being an old fool. I am not a boomer. I was born in 1968. I am on the older side of Gen X. Look up Her Fascism by Umberto Eco. Exactly, Lord. Okay, so I'm Lord is somebody up here. Oh, that Lord. Look it up. It's not an argument, Daddy. Okay. He was never convicted. Trump was convicted. Guys, they released the Epstein files and Trump was barely in them. Don't look at the redacted stuff, though. Even though this likely isn't true, what if the government actually has 300 IQ? Do you know? Okay, the government actually. How does the government have a 300 IQ? Anyway, remind me, what felonies was he charged with again? He was convicted of. He was convicted of it. And I don't remember the exact statute, but he was convicted of using accounting to cover up for another crime. I mean, don't assume because you don't know a thing, I don't know a thing. It's not like he went through a grand jury, through an entire trial, a conviction, and nobody ever thought that, oh, we need criminal charges here. The extreme militarization, othering of minorities, blaming said minorities for all the problems in the country. Yes, that's all very fascist. I get tired of saying, oh, Trump's a convicted felon. No, he is a convicted felon, dude. He is. He was convicted of 34 felonies. He is a convicted felon. That is an absolute objective fact. I could go on, but you're not here in good faith. You will take anything I say and say fake news to it. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about. Okay, you're talking to somebody else, not to me. Bill and Hillary Clinton refusing to testify. Okay. Trump said it himself. Was forcing everybody to get vaccinated. Nobody forced everybody to get vaccinated under threat of losing their job. And no, it's not a fascist act. I was in the military. But I was in the military for less than a couple of weeks in basic training. I think it was less than a week, and it was one of the first things we did is we went and they pumped me full of vaccines. This is not, goes back to George Washington, forced people to get vaccinated. But no, that's not a fascist act. That's not even in the realm of fascism. And if you had read my comment earlier correctly, it would have made a lot more sense. I don't know who you're talking about, what you're talking about. Trump is not under subpoena because he's a sitting president. Bill Clinton was subpoenaed while he was a sitting president. And I don't think that it has to do with criminal, like, this is what I'm saying is, hear me out now. During the time, there's no controversy here that during the time Epstein was running his whole thing, he and Donald Trump were close friends. He said so, and Donald Trump has said so. They knew each other intimately while Jeffrey Epstein was doing all his illegal stuff. So it's legitimate to ask Donald Trump what he knew and when he knew it, not to get Donald Trump, but to get to the truth of things. Like, who did he know? Who else was Jeffrey Epstein hanging out with? Who does Donald Trump think might have been involved? He doesn't. I've said before on the show many times, like Stephen Hawking was with Epstein. Nobody's ever thought that Stephen Hawking was necessarily a pedophile because he went to Epstein Island to go on the submarine. Like, I'm not saying that being associated with Epstein means that you rape children. I think that too many people have made that conclusion. But Donald Trump was friends and spent a lot of time with Epstein during all of that time. So why can't you have a conversation with him? It doesn't have to be a subpoena. It doesn't have to be why is Donald Trump not forthcoming and saying what he knows about it? Those are honest questions. And, as far as we know, everything that's come out about Bill Clinton has just been about these tours that he went on he flew with Epstein to go to Africa to, like take care of AIDS and stuff. And even like the picture in the hot tub was like apparently a public pool in Dubai or something. Like, there's no indication that Bill Clinton was ever engaged in the illegal activities. And I'm not saying there's any indication that Donald Trump was. So why is Comer wanting to talk to Bill Clinton? What is Bill Clinton going to tell him? Why is Bill Clinton at the top of his list? I think that Comer is being political about this and not trying to actually find out what happened. I don't think he's acting in the interest of the victims here. Every Democrat will say that people featured in the Epstein files shouldn't be trusted and heavily investigated. Republicans will vote for Epstein's best friend to run their party in our country. You look like the Stray Kids members. I don't even know what that means. I don't know who the Stray Kids are. Dude, who cares? We are just broken in our minds. Bill Clinton is on the flight logs 26 times. Yes, but those were trips to Africa. And, like, whatchamacallem. Like, they don't always fly straight to, they're like 4 trips, 26 flights, to and from. Like, well, they'll fly to England and then from England to Italy and then like different parts in Africa. And it turns out that there were all these flights, with the release of the files, there were all these flights that Trump was on that he said never happened. And also being on, this is another thing, is like the flight logs. Like, people make it sound like the flight logs mean something, or having been to Epstein Island means something. He had all kinds of stuff going on in New York, and he had all kinds of stuff going on in Florida. And in both of those places, both Epstein and Trump had homes. He lived just a 5 minutes drive from Epstein in Florida. And there was all kinds of illegal stuff going on in Florida. And I'm not saying that means that Trump went there. I'm saying that just talking about the flights is disingenuous and doesn't really consider all the possibilities of things that could have happened that without being on the flights. And it doesn't look at, you can be on the flights and not have done anything untoward. Trump saved my America. Okay. I'm open to hearing how. Demophiles are, see, now it's like, what is the point of a comment like this? This is just meaningless gibberish. Again, I'm open to conversations, and you can see I am really trying to respond honestly to people like Lord Dementis, who is asking and who's addressing everything in good faith and having an honest conversation, and I'm open to that. I'm actually eager for that. But just saying stupid things is just being stupid. And the crazy thing about Clinton is he only used Epstein as a private jet. Got to remember all the other 2 times he had his bodyguard with him. I'm glad I own YouTube. Well, hey, I work for you. Who cares? Bro, you are still on Trump's. Okay. It's funny, back in the day, everybody loved Trump. Now I never liked Trump. Like this idea that nobody in New York ever liked Trump. Like the idea that everybody loved Trump is just a thing that isn't true. I watched the first episode of the and only the first episode because I was just curious, right? And here, what I saw was like at first, and like Trump told everybody, like they introduced everybody, and then Trump gave everybody advice, and then they did things, and then Trump pretended like his advice is what made the difference. And he's in the boardroom and he's sitting there and he's talking about how awesome he is. And it's just, I couldn't wonder how anybody could like be in that room without, like feeling like they were drowning in bull crap. And so I never watched it again. I didn't like Trump from that. That was my experience of Trump. He doesn't run this country. I mean, okay, first of all, he doesn't run this country like a business. Secondly, if he does run it like a business, he ran a casino into the ground. Third, countries aren't businesses and shouldn't be run like businesses. Countries are not driven for profit. Harris voters for an unselected. Okay, so just scrolling past a lot of the. And again, I just want to point out, I am open to discussing anything you want. But if you want me to engage, especially in something like I see a couple of things where, people are bringing up things like, why would I vote for Harris? If you if you buy a super sticker and tell me what you want to discuss, I promise I will cover that on my next show, and I'll discuss it at length. I'll do research on it, and I'll cover at least a minute of the show for every for every dollar you donate. So you don't have to. I'm still going to read through all the comments and stuff. But if you want me to really address it, then I'm willing to do that. And I'm going to do that. Go back to this in a minute here. Somebody keeps going about Mark Scott. Trump was held legally liable for sexually assaulting. Well, no, he was held legally liable for sexually assaulting a woman. She was an adult. He was also held criminally responsible for crimes he committed. So fascism is a far-right ideology prioritizing the nation above the individual, America first, characterized by a strong central government, extreme nationalism, militarism, and suppression of opposition. Every word of that fits Trump. So thank you for that, Rip Van Winkle. Biden commuted the sentence of Shetland Jihan had. I have no idea what that is. Donald Trump just commuted the sentence of, a felon that, or a guy that spent less than a year in jail after he was one of the most notorious drug traffickers in the history of humanity. Trump is the best head president in history. If you libtards can't live with it, why y'all bitching ass? Okay. Oh, it's Big Rick. I think you should change your name to Overcompensating Rick. But Democrats think that children can receive hormones in transition. Define children. We're back to the trans thing. Okay. Gas finally went down this month by 2 cents. Groceries up, and now we get a great terrorist tax on top of it. He's starting a war down in Venezuela that truly could have. I imagine there's more to that. Yeah, Donald Trump is. I mean, if you try to have an objective conversation about Donald Trump, it's really hard to have one where you can defend a position that he's the greatest president in history. He never said he actually did, and he said it several times. But when you viscerally attack me for quoting what he said, and deny it, then does that mean if he actually said it, it was bad for him to say it? Yeah, George Soros, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, they are a group that the whole world. Yeah, see, this is what I mean by anti-Semitism. This is fascism right here. Remember when Trump sent military forces to stop protests? That is fascism. It's funny. Do those protesters have a Second Amendment right to defend themselves against a tyrannical government? I'd like to hear that. I keep asking that from the right wingers in the crowd, the gun rights activists. Do the protesters protesting the deportations, do they have a right to arm themselves and resist a tyrannical government? Or who defines when the government is tyrannical? Like, if this is your premise, then shouldn't your conclusion be that they have that right? This guy is a deep teacher. Hope he don't pick his nose. He'd pull his brain out. Okay. Kamala wouldn't have released the files either. Okay. Have you seen Kamala's name in it? In them? Where were you when the Biden administration was threatening Facebook to ban people over COVID misinformation? I think that's a false equivalence. And I'm not sure to what degree that was happening. But let's be clear here. A Facebook account is not a constitutional right. Whether or not the Biden administration overreached is a legitimate conversation, but comparing it to what Donald Trump is doing right now is not at all the same thing. Yeah, and if people really think that are fishing boats, do you think that they don't have fishing boats that have those motors on them? Do you think, like, why do you think that, like, they just invented those strictly for smuggling drugs, Rick? Yes, they use those boats for actual fishing. They have some fish that are out in deep waters, and they have to go out like 300 miles to get there. In order to get back in time to sell the fish before they spoil, they need those big motors. So yes, they do have. There are actual more of those boats are fishing boats than drug boats. Like, stop repeating stupid things that you heard on the internet because they agree with you. Yes, they are. They are trying to look like fishing boats. That's why they're choosing those boats. You need to also factor in that he's clearly in the early stages of dementia. Most of these outrageous policies are being put in place by his handlers. And it's kind of ironic, right? Because that's what they kept saying about Biden. Chuck Schumer wrote the bill to blow up drug boats. Okay. Well, is that the new made up thing now? A couple of strikes didn't have nets, to be honest. Did have nets, to be honest. Oh, a couple of the boat strikes, the boats did have nets. I've pointed this out before. Whether they were drug boats or not is kind of moot because even if they were smuggling drugs, that does not make it legal to just like blow them out of the water. Like if a cop sees a van driving down the street, he can't pull out a rocket launcher and blow up the van because he thinks there might be drugs in there. The Biden Harris regime. I always like the way they talk about regime with Biden and Harris. And it's always like Biden Harris. They attach the Harrises, so that makes it more nefarious sounding. Handing out free crack pipes and needles. Yes, that I actually one time I was in downtown Austin and Kamala Harris was there herself, like just handing out free crack pipes. Is doing a live complaining about Trump a distraction from your own shortcomings in life? Dude, if I did a live, you don't even want to know about my own shortcomings in life. You're the moron. It's called regional security. Oh, it's called regional security. Oh, it's called like whatever that means. You don't need to net to fish. Ever hear of a fish? Commercial fishermen aren't using fishing poles. Was Obama a fascist when he kicked illegals out? No. Nobody's saying that enforcing immigration laws makes you a fascist. Obama killed many civilians. Yes. Do you think children should receive gender affirming hormone therapy? Define children. I think that there is a point where like where somebody's 16 years old, which I would not call a 16-year-old child, that's had proper psychological and medical screening, should be able to receive hormone therapy if they so choose. All right. What you need to understand is that, first of all, there's hormone therapy and there's puberty blockers. All right. Now, typically, what happens is somebody that is transgender, they talk to their parents and their parents get them a counselor, and then they go through counseling a few years. Then after they've been through counseling a few years, before they start going into puberty, they get puberty blockers, which are mostly not entirely, possibly not entirely reversible, but mostly reversible. And there's some possibility that, like maybe they don't get quite the same bone density or something. Like what's not reversible is negligible compared to what isn't reversible from puberty. And 95 to 98% of the people that get that care that go on to get hormone therapy when they're 16, which means that all that mental screening works. But there's still the ones that slip through, most of those get caught. So then you've got usually like 6-7 years, of psychological counseling and gender affirming care that has gone on before they got the hormone therapy. People aren't just showing up to the doctor one day saying, I want hormone therapy because I like dolls. And I really wish that people would actually look at what the data is, look at what the science is. This actually saves lives. Suicide rates go up about 72% in states where they like ban gender affirming care. And suicide rates among transgender people. Did you just refer to? No, I did not just refer to immigrants as poison. Your daddy. Thank you for getting the your right. You have serious TD deaths. There's no such thing. Is this information? Is this an infomercial? It's an infomercial. It's an that starts with a vowel sound, so it should be an infomercial. And no, it's not, because DDS isn't a thing. Yes, fishing boats with high end power engines. They exist for a reason, which I've already explained. All right, so I'm going to go into the thing that I was going to go into a while ago. This is about this is the guy wanted, talked about the psilocybin, psilocybin. How do you say that? I don't know. You guys can't talk, so I wouldn't know if you got me right. But anyway, mushrooms. We're gonna go with shrooms. And let me real quick get rid of this comment here, just because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. All right. So shrooms. Should we legalize them? And so I got this comment, and the guy, bought a super sticker. So I thought, hey, let's look into this for this guy. And it's not a kind of thing. This is not Donald Trump's penis, by the way. That's an actual shroom. So right now there are 3 states that have legal access to it, and 20 cities that have decriminalized it. And there's 36 bills to decriminalize it in 2020 in the current sessions, and we're projections are by 2033 to 2037, the majority of states and cities will have at least some degree of legalizing it. All right, so I'll be back on the comments in a minute here. I'm just gonna look at this dashboard, but I can't see both at the same time. So what is shrooms? A naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in 200 species of mushrooms called magic mushrooms. How it works: it converts to psilocin in the body, binds to serotonin receptors, and it alters perception, mood, cognition, and can affect you for like 4 to 6 hours. Right now, it's a Schedule I controlled substance, illegal nationwide under federal law. All right, but there are 3 states that have legalized it: Oregon, Colorado, and New Mexico. In Oregon, it can be used recreationally as long as you have a supervised adult use in licensed centers. In Colorado, it's for natural medical healing centers, and in New Mexico, it's only for medical use. And it's still not fully implemented and needs to be fully implemented by 2027. It's decriminalized in Denver, Oakland, Santa Cruz, DC, Olympia, Tacoma, and other cities. There's active legislation working towards it in Massachusetts, New York, Washington, Hawaii, Vermont, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Texas, of all states. That surprises me. And it's still illegal in Texas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and 30 other states. So this shows that, like the momentum that's building for it. And it's kind of like it really went up a bit, and now it's kind of starting to peak. But that's also because we're kind of running out of states. It's all right. So what are the pros and cons? I think this is the important part. What does it do? It has 60 to 80% response rate in trials for treatment resistant depression. This is like people that have already gone through other treatments and that have failed, and they've tried this and it's worked 60 to 80% of time. And it's not like the kind of thing where you take a pill or 2 every day. You have one treatment and it'll last for like months. It helps people with PTSD and trauma. It helps people with end-of-life anxiety, like cancer patients and stuff. It helps with addiction of other drug treatments, which, like opioid addiction. You were worried about fentanyl. This seems like it would be a good treatment plan, right? Promising results for alcohol, tobacco, and opioid addiction. Low addiction potential. Tolerance builds rapidly, preventing compulsive use. And your neuroplasticity creates lasting brain changes, not just symptom suppression, which is why you've got um, the long-term effect for treatment of depression and things like that. Is it's not just temporarily giving you a high of some sort. It's actually healing the brain. Um, there are some safety concerns. These are the cons. People have bad trips. There's a psychosis risk, especially for people that are predisposed to schizophrenia. There can be physical effects like nausea, increased heart rate, blood pressure, and dizziness. Impaired judgment, which can lead to dangerous behavior, accidents, and injury. You don't want to do shrooms and drive, for instance. You can have flashbacks, which, if you're treating it for PTSD, something you'd be concerned about. And unknown long-term effects. Now, for the most part, these 5 things, this is why I think, like, where Oregon, their laws are, it has to be supervised. All of these risks, except for the last one, unknown long-term effects, all of those risks can be mitigated by supervision. Like, if there's somebody that's trained in how to handle it, if you're, start throwing up, or if you start panicking or whatever, if you overtripped, and then you also have more precise screening for psychosis risk, and you have more accurate measurements in terms of dosage. So if you have it supervised, it seems like, to me, the rewards greatly outweigh the risks. The one thing that you don't know is the unknown long-term side effects. But we release medicine all the time with unknown long-term side effects. And I'm not just talking about, I know some people are going to be like, yeah, like the vaccine. No, I mean like Ozempic. Like just I kind of inclined to agree. It's time to legalize this. It's time to stop just making it seem like this is like the worst thing in the history of the worst things. It's not. I think that there are legitimate medical reasons to legalize shrooms, but maybe not completely. Like, I'm not saying you should be able to go into a store and buy shrooms and come home and get high recreationally. I'm saying, like for medical purposes, and even I don't know how to put it, but like counseling type things, where people's brains just are like, they're just clinically depressed, or so anyway, so let's go back up here to the comments. This boomer gets distracted so easily. Well, this was actually the thing that I was going to talk about a half an hour ago, but I was like looking at your comments. Okay, political leaders on both sides of the aisle are just 2 branches of the same tree. Okay, so you like to trans kids. Next topic. I don't even know what that means. He just reads comments. I see. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Gray's talking about like me getting distracted because I'm actually reading content. It's funny. It's like people, if I don't read the comments, people are like, don't read my, why don't you read my comments? And then if I do read comments, then it's all you do is get distracted. Okay. Just getting rid of these. All right. No, they usually get taken to a counselor, and the counselor immediately affirms their gender in one session, because I will take a ton of money off of one person. Based on what? Based on what experience do you have in this? Based on what research do you have in this? Adult equals 18. Make them wait. See, the problem is with making them wait is that you're making that, like, again, 98% of the people that go through hormone therapy end up choosing to transition. All right. The whole point of doing it is that if you make them wait, then you're forcing changes on their body that are permanently detrimental to the rest of their life. Making them wait is torturing them. And it's torturing them for life. There are some things that can't be undone through that puberty does. Most of what puberty blockers undo or do can be undone, other than just very, very minor things. Takes him 1 hour to read 10 comments. How many years? How many years what? Are you, study in Sweden said you're wrong. They banned it after realizing they were killing their kids. I'm willing to see this study, but I have very made up vibes about this. There is no such study. Guess he's not interested. And also, by the way, it's your Youre apostrophe. Guess he's not interested in talking economics with me. I don't know who you are. I don't know what. Is this your first comment? I don't know what you're talking about. Counselors are obligated by law to affirm their gender identity. So, I mean, like, first of all, there's no like federal law that says that. Secondly, affirming a gender identity is basic medical care if they're there for gender dysphoria. That's just basic medical treatment. Nope. Okay. We haven't gotten down to that point yet, gaming. You are not an adult at 16. Nobody said you are. Like, do you believe in, like, why is it that people that think that parents have rights as long as those parents are being hateful towards gay and trans people? But if the parents of gay and trans people, don't they have rights? This still spouting this nonsense. There is, dude. I mean, calling it nonsense doesn't make it nonsense. Go look at my channel. Look it up. I actually made a video just for you, Paradin. I actually made a whole video just for you addressing this specific topic. Also, so you're pushing. No, it's not. I made that video too. Look at the videos I made. That study that you're talking about is a joke. Its methodology was bad. The people that did it, there had 125 studies pulled from the scientific magazine in like 2 years. So they won't even publish anymore. It's a junk study that you're talking about. And there is absolutely, yes, there is. There is actual studies. Saying there is no evidence does not mean there is no evidence. Very Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless you, Kelly. Back at you, Devoy 82. I hope you really do enjoy your family. You mean science mods? Bro, this is Politics channel, please. And give him a Christmas pass. I'm sorry, there is absolutely no way you're still. Okay, dude, there's no way you're still attacking it. Have you looked at them? It's like your brain is a semi-permeable membrane or something. Thoughts only go out and they never come in. Wake up, government. It's keeping people stupid. This comment section will be a lot better if it's just, hey, I have said that there's a reason I read your comments. I don't want it to be an echo chamber. But if you're commenting and not listening, are you in an echo chamber? Like, if you're not the way to be in an echo chamber or not an echo chamber has nothing to do with where you are. It has to do with whether or not you're listening. Are you listening to other arguments? Are you considering them? Are you considering the facts that are being presented? Like the fact, for instance, that fishing boats have high-speed motors. That does not mean that drug boats don't have high-speed motors. That just means all boats with high-speed motors are not, in fact, drug boats. It's not as simple as some people want to make it out to be. Yes, a fishing boat can have high-speed motors. More boats with high-speed motors are actually fishing boats than drug boats. They're not just making boats with high-speed motors to market to drug smugglers. And I've told you before, the ones that go out 300 miles into the sea, catch tuna fish, and then have to bring them back before the tuna fish starts rotting. Whether they have, I don't know at what point you decided that they had no no fishing equipment. I don't know why you think that is the case. I don't know where you did you go on board the boat and inspect it? 75% of the time that the Coast Guard boards a boat, they find drugs. 25% of the time they are wrong. They think it is and they're not right. And that's on ones where they actually get close enough to have on-site visibility. So what are you seeing that they are not seeing that you can be right 100% of the time? And again, I emphasize this again. It doesn't even matter if they're drug boats or not. It is illegal to murder them, whether they have drugs on those boats or not. Having drugs on those boats does not make it okay to murder them. I have seen most of the strikes, but like 7 or 8. What are we up to? Like 82. Where I don't know. I think it's like up to 27 or 28 strikes, but up to almost 100 murders. Prefer FCC versus customers research SCOTUS decision. I don't know what that means. Trump keeps on winning. Well, he lost in the Supreme Court today, didn't he, Jeff? Ha! And not every single strike has been on those boat styles, as I said, my dude. Yes. And, I mean, I appreciate where you're going with all this. But, again, it's irrelevant. To me, it's moot whether or not they have drugs on them. Because even if they do have drugs on them, you can't murder them. It's like, I don't want to concede that if there are drugs on them, then that makes it okay. It doesn't. It's murder either way. I've been taking them for a while. Even bad trips. Oh, we're up to the shrooms. There's times when I thought, I might be able to benefit. I didn't know liberals celebrated Christmas. I figured they would find something racist or offensive with Christmas. Was Santa Claus black? This gentleman makes money on spiking the ball on Trump, so you all agree with him, and he gets paid for every line. Just ignore him. Okay. If I wish I made money. Keep your voice down. You'll wake up your mother. My mother is dead. You know what happened to the dude who survived the strike? He was found innocent. Well, actually, there were 2, and they were both not even prosecuted. Are you on mushrooms now? No. Transvestites should be institutionalized. Jeff has very strong opinions with very little knowledge. Burn a Quran for Christmas. A lot of trans comments that I'm just blowing past. Well, too bad they shouldn't have made the decision to do what God didn't tell you to change your gender. He made you. Okay. What makes your religion determinant for other people? Like, who's to say it's God's decision? Like, honestly, Trumpster, ignorance is not your friend here. Actually, learn something. Like, what you're saying is ignorant. You know, you would have said that the Earth rotates, or that the sun rotates around the Earth a few hundred years ago. Guys, don't argue with stupid people. Their brains can't process logic. Every anti-trans person here beats. Okay, you better not read that because I'm monetized. Dude, you lied. Most kids that think about transgenderism don't go through with it. No, I said most of the kids that start puberty blockers go through with it. I don't know where you get your information, bud. Russell U7S, but I think that just saying Google it is not really a good argument. Breaking news, only two genders, and removing certain limbs don't change that. Okay. That's a weird argument. Exactly. This is a private matter. Yeah, I mean, only people that agree with MAGAs have parental rights. Apparently, nobody wants genital mutilation of children. And I think that's a kind of a gross and dishonest way of putting things. Like, this is, again, we can have honest discussions and honest debates, but in order to do that, you have to be an honest person. If you're sitting there and you're characterizing somebody that's trying to get their child treatment that keeps their child from committing suicide, you can at least honor the parent as a human being instead of trying to make them this vile person. Like, you become vile when you do that. You skipped my super chat. Oh, did you send me one? So to clarify on that, I'll cover that on Friday. I'm not going to do a show tomorrow. I'll cover that on Friday. It's the next day because when I do these super chats, I want to do them really honestly, and I want to do research on them. So I'll do some research on it. I'll prepare something like I did with that mushroom thing, and I'll actually really look at it and give you an honest answer. So, thank you, by the way, Skippy, and I'll get back to you on Friday, and then I'll also, if you have like an email or something, I will even send you the clip and the any visual data that I generate. But I think people present both arguments and are dumb. I don't know what both arguments are here. I will never understand libs. Both your two people are basically Nazis. Kama even had on live saying people need jail time for speech. I don't know. I don't even understand that sentence, but maybe you won't understand libs because you're not trying to actually listen to them. Like, maybe if you actually took a breath, thought about what they were saying, and then actually tried to like really understand their argument and then respond to their argument, maybe you would understand. But when you start saying things like they want to mutilate children and then nobody said they want to mutilate children, like, can you frame a liberal's argument in a way where the liberal would agree that is what their argument is? Like, this is what I try to do with MAGA arguments. Is I want to present, I want to be able to present back to them, this is what you are saying. If I can do that and then I can address that argument, then I feel like I'm being honest. But if you have to mischaracterize somebody's argument to defeat it, you are not being honest. And you can't ever understand somebody's argument if you're not honestly trying to assess it. No, I am not still defending the cartels. I think that drug trafficking is a crime, and I think that cartel members should go to prison. I think they should stay there. I don't think they should be pardoned. Okay. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. Legal. I don't know what legal means. MAGA baby. Okay. He's a MAGA baby. They use fishing. Okay. So they have fishing equipment or not? Because I was just told they don't have fishing equipment. So they're on fishing boats with fishing equipment. No drugs are recovered. I love watching the effects. Okay. Somebody is really just absolute believer that TDS is a real thing, not a fishing rod or net on the boat. Okay. Rotting Dead and Greg, what is it? George Oswald and Rotting Dead. If you two could get together and let me know whether there's fishing equipment on the boats or not, then that would be swell. But either way, if there's drugs on the boat or not, that's still not grounds to kill them. This is what I understand. It has a massive effect. Okay, if TDS is real, then can you tell me what the code is for that in the ICD-10? Last year, many more people died of overdose than the entire Vietnam War. Yes. So why aren't we trying this? I've gone through this before. Bombing boats does not stop overdosing. Do you have overdoses stopped since we started bombing the ships? Joe Biden, 2024 overdoses dropped 25%. Did you know that? I bet you didn't know that because they don't tell you that on Fox News. I'm all for doing things to combat overdose. And I'm doing all for things to combat drug trafficking. Right now, 3.7% of crates that are inspected are that come over the border get inspected. And most of what comes over the border is not on fishing boats, it's on shipping crates. We have neither the means nor the technology to adequately inspect that. I think we need to develop the technology so that we can inspect all the containers. I don't know if you were paying attention or if you were here yesterday, but in China, they're doing stuff where they're having 5G on the boats where they can monitor the containers the entire trip. And if there's any weight change, if any doors open or closed, if there's temperature changes in those shipping containers, anything at all happens on the way, so they can inspect it before it goes on the boat, and then they can check to see if anything at all happens to it on the way over. I think we need technology like that lets us evaluate 100% of containers 100% of the time, and then that way we can catch the anything that's going on to smuggle drugs through them. And when we do catch them, we can factor in what happened to that shipping container to catch more. I'm all for trying to catch drug overdoses and reduce drug overdoses and reduce crime. But it's not like either you're for reducing drug overdoses or you're for blowing up ships. Blowing up ships actually is counterproductive. Blowing up ships, one, our biggest ground resource right now is people that we arrest and flip. That's how we know what trafficking patterns there are and who's on what boats. If we board and interdict, we capture those people, we prosecute them, we get them to flip, we get information to get more. So one, we lose that intelligence by blowing up the boats. Number two, Canada and the UK, who we get a lot of our intelligence information on this thing from, have stopped sharing that information with us because they don't want to be responsible for the illegal killings of civilians. Whether they're drug traffickers or not, they're still civilians. So if you're actually for reducing overdoses and you really think that it's an issue, then you should be for that and not for blowing up boats. Don't use this as a defense for blowing up boats. If you care about stopping the overdoses, then care about stopping the overdoses and look at how we can stop overdoses and not just use that as a knee-jerk defense of blowing up boats. Chuck Schumer, 1986, made illegal. I don't even know what that means. Why do we? I don't know what you're supposed to care about. The communist left defends all human garbage. Yes, it does, whatever that means. Viva Maduro. Who cares? Joe Biden condemned Maduro. It's not about Maduro. It's see, everything with, can we have an honest discussion? Do you want to stop drug trafficking? Like, what is the conversation? Is it drug trafficking or is it Maduro? Because I agree, Maduro is bad. Maduro illegally is seizing power of the government. But that's a different discussion. Blowing up fishing boats doesn't do anything about that. We're a nation of pilots. They're literally just murdering people. And it's literally just murder. Trump is still Trump is still me, daddy? Did you mean to say your daddy? Wrong, Chuck Schumer passed a law that makes hitting drug. No, Chuck Schumer did not pass a law in the 1980s that makes hitting drug boats legal. Did you see it said Trump keeps on winning and he laughed at it, would have said Biden keeps on winning, he would have said, yeah, baby, guys. I don't even know what. Are you like hitting the eggnog, Trumpster? Say, did you see it said Trump keeps on winning and he laughed at it? It was, if that is one incoherent sentence. No, it is murder if they're doing crimes. It's still murder. Smuggling drugs does not make it okay to kill people. Okay. Wokes hate Christmas. That one's out of the blue. Sorry for your loss. Where are you seeing these? Seeing what? I don't know what you're. Burn a Quran for Christmas. He keeps talking. This person seems to really be like thinking about burning a Quran for Christmas, which is sort of a weird take on Christmas. I don't think the Christmas spirit means burning a Quran. How much are your so-called protesters getting paid? Oh, look, anti-Semitism. Trans D debate about religion. It's about science. People are very concerned about other people's business. It is weird that the small government crowd seems to be the government that seems to be for a government regulating everything about your personal life. Media law makes hitting these. No, it doesn't. No matter how many times you say it, it's not true. Those boats don't seem like they're set up to go all the way to the U.S. Many of them weren't planning to go to the U.S. Please read the mileage law from me. No, it doesn't make hitting drunk boats illegal. It makes drunk boats illegal. Why have we not been doing it? I don't know what you're talking about, but I know that hitting, like blowing up drug boats is not now and never has been legal. And Chuck Schumer in 1986, like, that's such a weird take. Take your rhetoric to the nearest bathroom. Smart folks ain't buying it. Okay. I'm going to go spend time with my family because I'm not an insane loner who thinks Trump touched him. And I hope you do. Go have a wonderful time with your family, George. I don't think that having a good time with your family is a partisan issue. Wow, these are the dumbest Trump supporters I've seen. There's actually some. I will say there's some dumb ones, but there's some that are at least trying to be honest. Please read the MDLEA law. Give me $2 and I'll talk about it on the show. Okay, just take your word for it. George, you wish Trump would touch you. People will never be willing to admit they're wrong. I have heavily appreciate your attempts, but they'll listen to anything that their sides, regardless of science. These people won't learn. I've had a few people change their minds, and I've changed my mind sometimes on things too. I think that if we think nobody can change their minds, then that means we think nobody can learn. And what's the point of even having conversations if nobody can learn? What's the point of reading anything? What's the point of writing anything? Like we can't just shut out the idea that some people can learn. Suicide rates do not rise after surgery. I know the study you're referring to, and there's this, I did a whiteboard video on that. That study, which can barely be called a study, is heavily debunked. Since you're like the third or fourth person to bring it up, I'll explain why. What it did is all it did is look at a very select group of people that were in emergency rooms, and it compared trans people who had gone through surgery and were in the emergency room for suicide attempts with people who weren't trans that were in the emergency room for having attempted suicide. So there's all kinds of bias selection bias issues with that. It's a study that the paper pulled. It was completely punked by peer review. And this is why we have peer review, by the way, because sometimes it's not about, whether or not somebody agreed with what you said. It's about the actual methodology. Methodologically, this was a debunked study. And if you want more details on it and you actually really care about it, then go ahead and look at that video. But this is, again, these are kids, right? A lot of kids that are trying to kill themselves. And if we care about children at all, then we should care about them and actually look at the facts, put aside our opinions, whether it's for or against, and actually learn what the real science is, learn what care works, instead of just defending our positions and digging into our positions about things that don't affect us at all, but it does affect them. We have the obligation to actually learn before we talk. And I don't mean just go and reinforce our own opinions. I mean, look at people that have objectively researched it and see what they have to say. Dems have created 99% of our problems. Okay, that's a baseless statement. Yes, being hateful to others for their choices is vile. I agree. Wow, so you listen to kids. They're the authority. No. This is such a bad faith argument. If a kid tells me he doesn't like beans, I don't even know how to. It's so bad faith, it's hard to even address. Kids are not the authority on what it means to be transgender, but kids are the authority on themselves, like who they actually are, what is going on in them, their thoughts, their feelings. They are an authority on themselves. They know more about what they personally are going through. They know more about their own personal autonomy than you do. Just like you know more about your personal autonomy than anybody else does. Nobody can tell you more about you than you already know. If somebody were to try to convince you that you were actually trans, they would not be able to do it. Typical Republican bitching about less than 1% than letting the elites rape our kids. Keep up the good works the idiots need to learn. Thank you, sir. Every religion is okay with genital mutilation. Creepy libs and Democrats want to mutilate. Again, I said this yesterday. You got to be careful when you throw around things like this. First of all, talking about transgender care is not, and equating that with mutilating children and normalizing pedophilia is disingenuous and gross and disgusting. It's neither of those things. And some people, like myself, are victims of. I was molested as a child. All right. So when you accuse me of being a pedophile, it makes me want to tell you to do things to yourself that, like, maybe run your face down a cheese grater. Like, you're a disgusting person and you're vile. And I just can't stand it when people throw around the word pedophile against victims of pedophilia. It's disgusting. Stop it. Insult me all you want, but don't call me a pedophile. Anyone should be one word. Arguing the boats being legal. Oh, so he's just still going on about this stupid boat law that Chuck Schumer passed. I don't know when Chuck Schumer passed laws all by himself. But go ahead, dude. Give me $2 and I'll look it up. I'll do a whole dashboard on it. Is a child your boss? No, I don't have a child. Media law. Oh. Hey, Care Bear or Huggy Bear. My cat's out there yelling at me. Who's Kamala? What does Kamala have to do with anything? Kamala took my BMW. No, Chuck Schumer did not make blowing these buds legal. Give me $2 and I'll talk about it. Go ahead, buy me a sticker. Buy me a sticker. I'll do research on it. I'll get back to you. I don't want to mutilate children, though. Okay, if your son wants a tattoo at 5, this is such a weird thing. Nobody's doing sex surgeries at 5. So this guy just keeps posting the same comment over and over again, like it's going to become any less stupid no matter how many times he posts it. Liberals don't have good arguments. Good. Saying it's not a valid argument doesn't make it invalid. No, I'll do my research for free, but if you want me to research a particular thing, then yeah, pay me for it. I mean, you're welcome to do your research too, but don't tell me what to do. I'm not your monkey. But if I'm going to be your monkey, pay me to be your monkey. I'm not your free monkey. No, chemical castration, first of all, is not a thing. Puberty blockers is not chemical castration, number 1. Number 2, it's not mutilation. Are you a gay man? No, I am a straight woman. Straight man. I've been married for 27 and a half years. Yeah, and those human beings that need surgery. Like, stop acting like they're victims. If you're a human being, and you want to say they're human beings, then you have to take them into account, which is why their parents are involved, which is why medical professionals are involved, which is why they are involved. Why are you involved? Surgeries are not being pushed. It's not like there's a crowd of surgeons trying to talk them into getting surgery. Okay. I don't care whether you do or not. But if you want me to talk about your little stupid thing, then you know, pay me and I will. But I'm not going to talk about your little stupid thing unless you do. Uh, but in genuineness, if you want me to talk about something, a topic, and like you just send me a super sticker, I will research and talk about that topic. And I'm not, I still read the comments, I still respond to the comments the same way. But if you want me to take some time out of my personal life to research a thing, then you can say thank you. This dude is so blind he still thinks it's left or right. You're so blind, and I don't know where you get that I think it's left or right. Um, bro, Jazz Jennings was. I don't. I don't know who this Jazz Jennings person is. People keep talking about this. I don't know. I think Jazz Jennings is, a happy trans person, but I don't think Jazz Jennings was loaded up with hormones at 5. Yes, so now I need to have my hard drive checked for child porn because I don't think transgender people are, you know, uh, stop acting like white women haven't been indoctrinating their kids into believing they aren't the gender they were born. Stop acting like they were. Stop acting like they have been. What a weird, weird take. How does every conversation devolve into a bunch of MAGAs complaining about transgender people? 0.5% of the people seem to be responsible for 99.5% of your problems. And you think we're the weird ones. We're the ones that have derangement syndrome. Have a nice Christmas, guy. You're wasting your time speaking to dumb MAGAs. All right, so I'm just going to skip. I'm not going to read any more trans. Okay, here's an. After Epstein was arrested and jailed, Bill Gates went and hung out with him several times. I have no I don't understand, like, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't care. Again, anybody that is convicted of raping children should be in jail. But the Bill Gates hate is weird. It's like conservatives didn't start hating Bill Gates until he started donating money to people. You can just take what I say and do that, and we'll do it. Okay. It seems like you're saying that there there is no evidence at all that anyone ever is trying to pressure children into getting transgender surgery. There is zero evidence of that. This is a completely baseless, unsubstantiated statement. And so you're saying I can just, like, that I have to accept that? It's not whether or not I agree with you, dude. It's whether or not it's true. And if we're trying to have an honest discourse, then it's not about if it takes effort to miss my point with semantics and some mob of surgeons. No, your point is that if I'm understanding it correctly, if I'm not, then correct me. But it seems like your point is that there is some sort of movement to pressure pressure cisgender children into believing they're transgender, right? Like your point is that people like there is some for some reason there is some group of people that is pressuring people into being transgender. No, that is not what is happening. What is happening is that as awareness that transgender people are not like sick in the head, there is a rising realization that more people are transgender. There's more people that are identifying as transgender. But that's not because people are being forced into being transgender. It's because people that would traditionally have hidden the fact that they're transgender because of societal pressures are now uh, identifying as transgender. And as a result, they're getting counseling and they're getting treatment for gender dysphoria. If you look at, for a long time, for centuries, people were taught it was evil to be left-handed. And they started realizing, no, it's not evil to be left-handed. It's okay to be right-handed. And there's a slope of people that like started, like, I don't know what to say, identifying as left-handed. But the rise in people that were left-handed came with the acceptance of being left-handed, and they have actual slopes, comparable slopes with people that were left-handed, people that were identifying as gay, and people that were identifying as transgender. As things become socially acceptable, traits that are innate become manifest and become more prevalent with acceptance. It's not because they are being forced. The slopes are the same. So this is, I don't know if this is what you're getting at. I don't know if this answers your concern. People are not becoming transgender because they're being forced to. People are identifying as transgender because they're being allowed to. I hope that answers your question. What a shock. Uninformed libtard. I'm uninformed libtard, okay? The effort is yours alone, not my problem. Kelly belongs in a state mental hospital. Okay. Who's Jazz Jennings? No, I don't know who Jazz Jennings is. I like, I do not spend all my time on like MAGA conspiracy weird things. So I don't know, whatever the flavor of the day is for MAGA, I don't always keep up with it. So if I don't know if Jazz Jennings is like, there are a few people, like a very, very few people that, have like regret or like but it's like even a tiny percentage of people that goes through surgery. And a lot of the people that reverse transition, they didn't reverse transition out of regret. They reverse transition because economics declared it. They just didn't have the money to keep up with their hormones. Okay, so I think I somehow went back up. Somebody really wants to know what city I'm in so he can call Child Protected Services. I don't have any kids. I'm not around any kids, so you don't have to worry about it. Explain all the pride flags at state and local buildings. And Democrats always talking about LGBTQ. What is there to explain? That why does that need an explanation? I don't understand what there are pride flags at state and local buildings, and Democrats think LGBTQ people have rights. Does that explain? I don't understand what is in need of explanation. What do you think about Clinton? What do you mean? What do I think about Clinton? I've said it before. If Clinton raped children, he should go to jail. Leftists attacking MAGA because they suffer from they can't stay on topic. The chat is determining the topic. And it's the MAGAs that's doing most of the chatting. Okay, there. I don't know why you're so concerned about this. The trans thing was brought up and people rolled with it. The MAGA people were happy to talk about other things. If everyone who disagrees with you, I don't know what any of this is supposed to mean. Like I'm somehow, it's my fault for responding to what MAGA people are saying. But MAGA doesn't have to project. We just let y'all go off and you make up yourselves look bad. The only my kingdom for a literate MAGA. But MAGA doesn't have to project. Exclamation point. We just, capital W, just let y'all go off and make yourselves look bad. I don't know what projecting or what we're doing to make ourselves look bad. The only tool left for liberals, I think he means tool, is projection. I don't know what we're projecting. This is just like words that are are you Russian? Are you a Russian troll? Republicans, Google. Yeah, he's still about this one. Hi, I am collecting thoughts. These boomers are going to be out of the door soon. I'm Gen X, or buying thousands of acres of farmland. You know who's buying thousands of acres of farmland? The problem with farmland is not that it's being bought up by China. The problem with farmland is that it's being bought up by corporate farms. We've lost 500,000 farms, privately owned farms, since 1980, and we're going to lose another 400,000 before 2030. The problem is corporate farms buying up private farms. The problem is not about China farms. MAGA is a whole lot more wholesome than evil Democrats that want illegals to invade and dope up their child. Do you really think that this is what Democrats want? And do you honestly think that's what do you think Democrats really want illegals to invade and dope up their children with false reality? Whatever that means. Is that what you think that Democrats want? Do you think that I don't remember any commercials from Kamala Harris that were about like let the illegals invade and dope up our children with false reality? Like I don't think that is a fair characterization of what liberals want. Do you know what liberals want? And if you have to mischaracterize what liberals want, is it A, because you don't know, and so you're just repeating things, or is it that you do know and that you know that if you actually fairly represent it, then you have to like actually have an honest conversation about it? And you don't want to have an honest conversation about it because you know if we have an honest conversation about it, then you have to start admitting some things that you don't want to admit. Good chatting. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to listen to music. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, glorious content. How are people sending the big messages up there? This tard can't read chat. Okay, if you guys could write a grammatically correct sentence. The ones that are popping up, I'm selecting them. You are stupid. Thank you. At least I'll give you this credit. Like, at least you just avoided the whole your thing. You just like went with the you are. That way you can't get called out. 8 likes in 3 hours. Don't quit your day job, you pedophile. Okay. Let's talk about the dolphins. What's the deal with all the dolphins sexually assaulting swimmers? Sounds like a Jerry Files Seinfeld. Well, what's with all the dolphins? Peace out. Peace out back at you. It's getting time to log off because people are going to have their Christmas stuff Anybody want to talk about like what you're gonna do for Christmas tonight? You're gonna have a we used to sit around, we'd read the Christmas story, like the actual verses from the Bible. And then we'd each, my brothers and my parents and I, we'd each have one present that we opened, and then we'd go to bed and wake up, and Santa would do all this stuff. Um, and we'd have like some dessert and cookies and stuff. I miss those times. My mom, when we got older, my mom started drinking a lot, and so we didn't have the same kind of things. But when I was a kid, she was a good mom. Explain drag. Okay, first of all, drag queens and transgenders are not the same thing. Drag queens can be cisgender males that just like to dress as women sometimes. Secondly, they're reading to children. So I would say if you want to complain about people reading to children, then like when is the last time you volunteered to go read to children at story hour? Like, first of all, like just they are a better person than you just for doing that. They are literally doing a kindness. Secondly, what's the difference between um, a drag queen and wearing a MAGA hat? And I know you're going to get all offended that I said that, and that's why I said it. But you think about this: a drag queen, what offends you is their attire. And you can argue they're wearing that attire just to offend you, not because that's how they identify or that's what the way they want to dress, right? How is wearing a MAGA hat any different? You can say that you just want to support Donald Trump or that's just what, but other people, if they feel that you're wearing it to be aggressive, how is it any different? So here's the deal. I'll say I don't have a problem with you wearing a MAGA hat, and I don't have a problem with somebody dressing in drag. Wear your MAGA hat and go volunteer for reading in a library. Go read to kids in libraries. Stop worrying about drag queens doing it, and why don't you do it? Go read whatever go read the Bible to them. Right? Stop worrying about people doing decent things and trying to make it like evil. If a trans person gets SSI, they have human rights. Yes. Most people think you're, like I said, I was a victim. I was molested as a child. I am not a pedophile. That's the only way they have rights. This guy is gay and afraid. Okay, Katie. Literally clueless about what happens in dark. Yes, I literally am clueless about what happens in the dark corners of the net. I don't go there. Are you saying that you spend time there? Why are you spending times in the dark corners of the net? There is, bro, W path are a bunch. I don't know what W path is. At least temporarily. No, they are more kids being groomed, and nobody's being groomed into trans identity. That's just such a stupid thing to say. Cis wasn't even a word until a few years ago. Okay, let's look this up. Cisgender became its first documented word use was in 1994. But transgender people have existed throughout every civilization and throughout history. Studies do not prove this host is wrong, and I've addressed them. Wow, so many people that are just anti-trans and anti-learning about anything. I will say there is a lot. I think if you were to look at things statistically, I think that there is a disproportionate, actually this would be an interesting thing to look at. I would say there is a disproportionate number of people that work in and for churches or volunteer in and for churches that molest children. um I think that's very, very uh because there's a sort of it's like building a candy story for a fat kid. um the you're like basically giving all the candy to the fat guy. If you're a pedophile and you want to be around children and have a chance to have your way with them, become like the trusted confidant of their parents. I mean, they'll just give them to you. So I think, like there's a logical correlation there, which is why you see a lot of people that get busted for pedophilia that are like youth ministers and stuff like that. Um, but again, I think there's no relationship between pedophilia and being trans and like this. I like the only way I can, it's sort of like a disturbed association between transgender people and um pedophilia. Like in your mind, in order to connect those two things, it means that you cannot think of children outside of their sexual organs and outside of having sex with them or something like that. It's such a weird connection. Like, how do you go from transgender to pedophile or pedophile to transgender? They're completely different things. The only thing they do is they both involve children. It's not even they both involve sex. One involves gender and one involves rape. But they both are kind of sort of associated with genitals. Anyway, it's just a really, really weird, sick, and twisted connection that if you're making it, then you're probably like having some weird thoughts and probably need to go see some counselors. I'm an evolutionary biologist, and I agree with much of what you claim. Might we chat? I don't care if you're an evolutionary biologist or not. This has nothing to do with evolution. The reality is transgender people have always existed. That's not an evolutionary thing. And yeah, it's there's a lot of research that shows that there's some genetic things involved. They have like twin brothers that become twin sisters. I mean, I don't want to devote the entire conversation to this, but and like if you have like a substantive thing to say, go ahead and say it, and I will look into it and I will respond to it. But there's no connection between evolution and being a transgender person. If I had any money, I'd give you one, dude. The first trans kid ended up killing himself. How do you know that? Trump hurt my feelings. Are you one of the people that used to run around screaming, "Let's go, Brandon," for 4 years? Trump is a real life terrible person that's actually doing really, really terrible things. You scumbags worship a pedophile. I wonder what would have happened if there were a report that came out about Bill Clinton or Barack Obama raping a child and having her murdered, like there was with this story that may or may not be real, but is actually really in the Epstein files about Donald Trump. Gas is down, inflation is down. It's better to fart and bear the shame than not fart and bear the pain. I agree with that. I'd say it's even better to toot and share the loot than not toot and bear the fruit. Something like that. Okay, I have to think about that more. How about platypuses? Mother Nature's redheaded stepchild or intelligent design. Did anyone realize those duck-billed vermin are venomous? No joke. I did not realize that. That's interesting. But you want to know, here's a pun for you. Why did the duck-billed platypus cross the road? To pay the duck. That's a Kelly original right there. Boy, you look like you toss more salad than Olive Garden. Okay. It's like, is there any like actually valid conversations here? What's up with all the Democrat welfare fraud in Minnesota? Talked about that on the show before. And there's legitimate criticism of both the state government and the federal government. But this is a case of some people, right? I think we need to avoid making it about like the entire Somali people, as certain orange people have done. And I can say orange people since there's only one orange person. The real issue there with me is that the way, like, the responsibility is mutual, but so is like the case against it was the prosecution started under Biden. It didn't start under Trump. And the issues are real, but I think that the real victims are kids that actually have autism that could lose funding for their health care now. And making it political actually takes away the real issues that are going on. Takes away from it. So again, this is one of those issues where I wish we could get past the politics of it and start talking about the real actual things that need to be talked about. I think fraud needs to be addressed because it's not, Democrats aren't doing fraud. In this case, fraud happened under a Democratic governor, but it's not like the governor was responsible for the fraud. He wasn't convicted of fraud or something. So I think we need to look at what happened, why did it happen, how can we prevent it from happening again, and how can we still provide the care for those autistic children that still need it. For those that don't, it's getting. So after Epstein was arrested and jailed, didn't you already say this? Oh yeah, I've talked about it. Yes. I don't know anything about what happened or don't understand why it's relevant. You can't name a reason to like Trump other than he's a good troll MAGA. I've tried to get somebody to say something like that. Somebody did point out, like that they liked the fact that taxes came down, but Even like I showed earlier today, it's federal taxes only, and it's not. When you look at the overall tax burden for the bottom 80% of the country, when you start factoring in tariffs and lost benefits, is actually detrimental. More Americans are hurt by the one big beautiful bill than are helped by it. Yes, and you know what? You can't just bomb a pirate ship out of the water. You can legally board it, but you can't like kill people on it. So you're right. It's no different than the Somali pirates. So you can't treat them any worse either. There's international law recognizes two classes of people. They don't recognize criminals as a separate class of people. There are civilians and there are soldiers, are combatants, all right? And they're only combatants if they're combating. They weren't combating, so they are civilians. If they're civilians, you can stop the ship, you can board the ship, you can seize the ship, you can confiscate the ship. What they're doing with the Venezuela ships, because they're flying, or what they're doing with these oil tankers is legal. You haven't heard me complain about that. You haven't heard me say that's illegal, because it's not. I don't know if it's advised, but it's not illegal. The embargo might be illegal, or the blockade might be illegal, but boarding those ships is not illegal. Blowing up ships is illegal. Well, yeah, his poll ratings are not very good right now. Might not be what liberals want, but it's the byproduct of the. I don't know what you're talking about, Playbook. Um, how many combat missions? What is Mark Kelly has like 5,000 hours of combat. Pete Buttigieg, how many? I think what is Pete Buttigieg has the Joint Service Condemnation Medal, Afghan Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Overseas Service Ribbon, plus Marksmanship Award. So there's at least two highly decorated war heroes who were not administrative, who are definitely not pro-Trump. Biden actually had the highest popular vote rating in the last 50 years of presidents. Biden did not allow in tens of millions of illegals to saturate the Democrat voting bloc. None of that is true. All of that is nonsense. Please just don't type nonsense. It's nonsense. If they had voted, if we had imported 10 million votes, we would have won the election, dude. Trump had good poll ratings unless you flip to see it. No, he has even he's even underwater on Rasmussen now. And, it's like when you talk about tourists coming in, you're talking about businesses, right? And in some of those businesses, a lot of those businesses, in fact, are in Florida. So why do you hate Florida? Not you. You are agreeing with me, but I'm talking about the general Tourist people. Trump participated regularly in paying money to force me redacted with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn baby and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. Whoa, is this a new one? Wow. Is that it? Wow. Well, that's obviously we need some context there. But I've been saying, like, there's a reason Trump is hiding this stuff. There's stuff in there that's going to make him look, whether it's true or not, it's going to make him look bad, and he's going to try to hide it. And I think we need to, like, I'll say, we need to hold off on judging him for that until we get the full context. But boy, that does sound bad. If you're military and you're against Trump, then why the F did you join the military? I joined the military in 1986. Not everything in the world is around Trump. Like, some people have this, people make decisions that don't have to do with Trump. Just because I don't have, like, this guy probably has Trump tattooed on his face. Learn about hygiene and clean up that face, loser. Okay, I don't know that I have a dirty face. Explain the drag queen story hour for kindergartners. I already did. They're reading books to kids. What is there to explain? I'm doing MAGA's mom for Christmas tonight. I don't know what that means. Trump participated regularly in paying money for me to force me to redacted with him, and he was present. Okay, this one is a repeat. Because Trump actually respects our military, unlike the previous administrations spent all their time. None of that is true. And actually, Donald Trump is the one that threatened to disown his son if he joined the military. He's the one that called them suckers and losers. Trump has no respect for the military. He thinks of it as his plaything. He's ready to send people off to die just so he can distract people. He doesn't respect the military. After Epstein was reelected in okay, I don't know how many times we're going to have that comment. I'm sorry to hear your mom struggled with alcoholism. Yeah, thank you. That's a kind thing to say. That was for housing clown. I don't know what this means. Who cares what the Bible says about a secular? I mean, it's right. Like, the idea that and you know what? Just as far as the Bible goes, it says the Bible is pretty clear that we shouldn't be involved with politics, and our country's politics says we shouldn't be involved with religion. So both as a Christian, and I am a Christian, and as an American, and I am an American, I think that there should be a separation between my religion and my politics. Okay. That's called hearsay, and it's fake, just like being hearsay does not mean it's fake. And you guys use hearsay all the time when it's there, but when there's a conversation between two people and one of them says it happened and the other one denies it, and the one who denies it is a chronic liar, and the other one that says it happened is actually like an extremely well-respected person, I'm going to take the extremely well-respected person's word over the liars. If you are standing behind Trump and you write these vile words here, I thought you were supposed to be Christians. What's up? Honestly, children are safer around drag queens and than they are around. Yeah. I mean, like, I've never seen drag queen story where a drag queen that was reading children books is getting busted for being a pedophile. I see them all the time about youth ministers getting busted for being pedophiles. How about you leave the kids alone? Like, you're the ones that are trying to inject your personal opinion in other kids' lives. You leave them alone. Remember by versa, if they believe that everything they do offends them, it's not for the offense. They actually believe that they're reality. I don't know what that means. Some of these comments are strange. After and like kind of hard to decipher. Okay, this guy's it's like, did some of you just like copy and then just keep pasting the same thing? The more you tax the rich, the more they pack up their business and leave taking. This is actually not true. This is counterproved. In Massachusetts, they said if you're going to tax the wealthy, everybody's going to leave. You know what happened? Nobody left. You know what happened? The percentage of millionaires went up, not down. No, if you tax the rich, they got rich by being there. They're not going to leave. It's such a bogus thing. Like, the only people you can't tax are the rich people. You got to tax the poor people. The poor people are the ones that have all the money. Like, it's such a dumb thing. It is like monumentally stupid to think that the problem with our country is that the rich people don't have enough money because the poor people are hoarding it. Everyone with common sense knows that 0.5% of a population talks too much and talks garbage in the whole entire reality of the world. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what the 0.5% of the population. Are you talking about the billionaires? Or are you talking about the trans people? Because the Elon Musk and Donald Trumps have a lot to say, but they have little understanding. But they have a lot of money, so they can pay. They can just buy media to regurgitate their nonsense. How come I don't see anybody wearing those MAGA hats? Because they're embarrassed to wear them out in public. MAGA doesn't gun people down, retard Democrats. What Democrat has gunned down people? Okay, we can debate that. I do not have a number you can call. I'm been looking at getting one, like but I'm just saying, like, I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter. If you want to just send me a DM. I don't know if you're on either of those. And I'm Machine Pun Kelly on both. Just search me, send me a DM, and I will have a discussion with you and see if there's any merit to what you have to say. And if you come across to me as an honest person, I will have you as a guest on the show to argue the counterpoint. How does that sound? Like, I'm willing to give you a fair shake, but I'm not going to, like, get into an argument about whether or not reality is real. Transgender people actually exist and have actually existed for thousands of years. This is not a debate to be had. I'm not going to have a flat earth person on the debate to question whether the earth is round. But DM me what you want to say, and then we can have a conversation. You're 100%. And I really wish there were like a way to DM people on YouTube. That's policy. None of no, they weren't. That's just completely made up. There's no truth at all to that. That's just not true. Do you all really think that we want to hurt the kids? I don't think that they think about it enough. They just heard somebody say that and then they repeat it. A man in a dress is not a woman. No, a man in a dress is a drag queen. Uh, transgender person is not a man in a dress. I'm so glad veterans hate Trump. Well, they say 99% of the internet is actually blocked off from normal means, but if that, I don't know what that means. I think there's like, I don't know what, like dark web and all of that. I've got no idea what any of that is. Dress up like a black person and act like them, it's a hate crime. But if a trans freak dresses up like a woman and acts like them, it's empowering. Ha ha ha. Wow, you sound like a really crappy person. There is not a single trans on the planet, but that's only because there's no such thing as a planet. Teachers are far more likely to molest children than preachers are. That is a statistical fact. Okay, I'll look it up and see. But same thing. Like, are you saying like teachers are somehow like the liberals and preachers are the conservatives? Like, what is the point of this? And I don't know that it's a statistical fact. I think it's just a thing you pulled out of your butt. Does that include teachers at Christian schools, by the way? Republicans literally don't use any truth. That's why they are so incoherent. I don't think they understand what truth is. They like, if they subjectively believe something, that is a fact. If something is objectively true and they choose not to believe it, then that's fake news. Okay, based on what? He says people who pretend like the churches are dangerous places for kids usually advocate for abortion and transition. And this is, and transiting children. Like, what is transiting children? I mean, who advocates for abortion? Nobody advocates for abortion. Nobody like walks around and looks at pregnant women and say, "Hey, you should go get an abortion." I am a very sick individual defending transgender and homosexuality. Well, they exist. There's nothing to defend. There's an ad out there for LDS churches where you abused, molested by a member of the LDS church. I think there's a problem. I mean, in the Catholic Church, there was a bunch of issues. There's mega churches. There's been all these people that are getting prosecuted. Thank you. All right. So what time is it here? 5:33. Okay, somebody is the old stereotype of white van with candy is now the red MAGA hat. It's a projection for the Republicans are pedophiles. That's why they protect. And I just, please, let's just stop using pedophiles as a slur. It's a vile thing. It's not a political thing. And so, I mean, like, whether you're like, I don't call Republicans pedophiles, and I don't appreciate being called a pedophile. It's just, don't use it as a slur. Just don't do it. I mean that for everybody. I'm not. I'm sorry that I'm calling it out specifically for a liberal doing it because I think the liberal person won't be as sensitive about it. So this guy, I don't know how many times you're going to ask that question. Just because you climb, I don't know who climbed out of what sludge pit. Democrats have two modes. They are acting like they're smarter than everybody, or playing stupid. Okay. I don't act like I'm smarter than anybody, but I'm pretty sure I'm smarter than you. When historically transgender figures had a sex change. Okay, again, you seem to think that transgender and sex mean the same thing. Obviously, gender affirming surgery is a relatively modern thing. But transgender people have gone for hundreds of years, thousands of years in every society. They in places like Pakistan, for thousands of years, they were revered. They were priests and priestesses. They were in the Inca tribes. They were in the North American Native American tribes. They were in the pre-Christian European groups. That throughout virtually every society, throughout all of history, transgender people have existed. Asking whether or not they've had sex changes is like acting like asking whether they drove cars. Like it doesn't mean they didn't exist. It just means cars didn't exist. Kids need to be taught trans is evil. Why? Trans isn't evil. And every time you look in the mirror, there's your twin bleep up. I don't know what that means. I'm not the best looking guy in the world. I'll admit that. I mean, I never hear me brag about my looks. Now, if you have your dick in your mouth, you're just gay. You have a dick in your ass. Okay, well, this guy plays stupid when he gets what legitimate criticism, William? Like, you're just saying that I am like there isn't anything that actually is something other than just a weird insult like this. I'm trying to respond to. Please tell me what you think. What legitimate criticism have I ignored? What's 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 3 plus 4? 67? Oh, 6, 7. Anyway. I quote laws. That's substance. No, you keep screaming about this one law that has nothing to do, that does not make it legal. Quote for me the law. Quote where the law says it's legal to blow up, like quote the actual statute and where it says that it made it legal to blow up boats in international waters. You don't have to get what you want. And you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. MAGA would have pooped their diapers from a dem doing anything 1/1000th as bad as this. They would have. The Indians have always known about the transgender. It's just the religions that don't. Yeah, and a lot of the places, like when Christians colonized different countries, they wiped it out. 71109 in the shutdown bill has left, giving all illegals health care on our money. Glad Trump won that one. No, anyway, I think what you're referring to is emergency medical care for people. Like you can't tell people, like you have to provide life-saving surgery to anybody, whether they're here legally or not. And that is still the law. That is the law since Reagan. I remember when we passed that law and why we passed that law, and it's because people were dying out in front of emergency rooms because they didn't have insurance cards. So somebody appreciates Mega Destroyer. Veteran against Trump. There's Mega Destroyer. Thank you, Mr. Mega Destroyer, for your service. Define. Well, that's a whole different show. A man in a dress is not a woman, right? A man in a dress is drag. Some like, how many times do you want to post that? Anybody else see these files? A hacker was able to yeah. No, it wasn't a hacker that unredacted them. What happened is the DOJ loaded up these PDF files, and there's a way you can kind of redact a file. That is what happens is you just put the black bar over it, right? Like with a highlighter or something. I'm not sure exactly how that happens. But then if you copy, like, Control C, Control V, copy and paste, you select the text in the PDF and then paste it into a Word file or something, it will paste the text unredacted. It's not even like a hacker thing. It's just a cut and paste, and you don't need any skills at all to do this. And so this is a thing that has happened before. This was a known weakness in redacting these PDF files. So it's kind of stupid and incompetent that the DOJ didn't know about this. And just some people on TikTok tried it out and it worked. And then, as it turns out, there's like all kinds of mentions of Trump that were being redacted. All right. All right. So a lot of people keep bringing up the Minnesota thing. I'll do a dashboard on that. I'll do a dive into the dashboard thing and talk about that on Friday. I think that there is like legitimate criticism of Democrats on that issue, and I'll explain why. I also think there's legitimate issue with Republicans on that, and I'll break down that and explain why. And I think that this is one of those things, like where I am on immigration, where I am on gun control. I don't think it's a left versus right thing. I don't think it's a Republican versus Democrat thing. I think that the politics controls the conversation instead of a solution. And I think that we need solution-oriented conversations more than blame-oriented conversations. The way that our entire political system is set up right now is everything is about blame. Nothing is about getting things better. Nothing is about solutions. I would just love to see us have a solution-oriented conversation about this. I don't know if anybody doesn't want solutions. But if you want solutions, then, line up. It's funny that this guy keeps typing cope and seethe in all caps over and over and over again. Like, dude, cope and seethe. Democrats are the kings of making trillions of evaporate. I don't know. Didn't know evaporate was a noun. How much money? Frost is not good, but it is a question: how much money do you want to waste to stop all fraud? Well, if you're stopping fraud, you're not wasting the money. And I mean, Frous. It's not anyway. Nothing here is factual. Okay. It was a state program. Omar is a representative. She has no say in state programs. If Democrats aren't doing fraud, as a Californian explained homeless, I didn't say Democrats aren't doing, like, Democrats aren't doing fraud. People who do fraud may be Democrats, but it's not like the DNC has fraud as part of their, national platform any more than Republicans do. There are also Republicans who do fraud. I know one of them is Donald Trump. I don't know what you're talking about, homeless people getting paid for being homeless. And I don't know what that has to do with fraud. Also, why do homeless people? What's wrong with homeless people getting money? Like, are they supposed to like? Helping homeless people is not bad, and it's sort of biblical. Remember when China stole U.S. nuclear weapon blueprints under Clinton administration? No, I don't. I also don't understand why this is relevant to anything right now. Tell me where the 20 trillion went. I think he must be talking about the so-called 20 trillion that is being invested. Sit down, Buttercup. Let the men take care of this. Fun fact, the inflation went up to 9% under Biden's. That's not a fact. It went up to 9%. Okay. The pandemic happened. Okay, and that kind of answers all that you just said. Pandemic had nothing to do with Trump or Biden. All right, so we're getting close to 6 o'clock. Oh, and I thought I had my laptop plugged in, but I do not. And I'm running out of battery. So, and I'm also running out of bladdery. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here because I got to pee really bad. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. There will not be a show tomorrow. I will have a show on Friday, and I'll talk about the Minnesota thing and whatever else comes to mind. So anyway, I really do genuinely, whether you voted for Trump or Kamala Harris or the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus for that matter, I hope you have a very happy holiday. I hope you have a great meal tomorrow, and I hope you have a wonderful time with your family. Give your kids a hug, give your wife a hug, your husband a hug, your parents a hug, whoever a hug. And just appreciate that for at least for now, we still live in a relatively free country.